Chapter 1060. Seeing the shocked and envious eyes of the people around him, Xingtianyu smiled proudly. His Nanmingli fire cauldron was indeed a half-earth rank treasure, and it was specially given to him by his family. Now, using it to deal with Lin Xian would be a piece of cake. It could even crush him. Then, he manipulated the Nanmingli fire cauldron and looked at Lin Xian provocatively. He wanted to see what kind of cauldron Xingtianyu could take out. If Xingtianyu's cauldron was too low grade, he would directly use the pressure of the Nanmingli fire cauldron to deter Xingtianyu, and it might even cause Xingtianyu to fail. He was disdainful. In front of his absolute strength, what could Lin Xian do? The disciples of the Shen family and the Divine Bird Palace looked at Lin Xian with a sneer, and their eyes were cold. Lin Xian naturally knew what they meant, but he shook his head slightly, and a touch of disdain appeared at the corner of his mouth. Xingtianyu dared to compare the quality of his cauldron with Xingtianyu. Xingtianyu's 10,000 bee sting was an earth-rank treasure, and it was a complete earth-rank treasure. Xingtianyu's half-earth-rank treasure could not be compared to it at all. If he wanted to, he could even suppress Xingtianyu's cauldron in an instant. But he would not do so. If the news of the 10,000 bee sting was leaked out, the whole world would be alarmed. At that time, those kings might also take action. If that was the case, he could not resist at all. Therefore, before he had the ability to protect himself, he would not leak the news. However, the 10,000 bee sting was still useful to him. Because of the existence of Zero, he could hide the aura of the 10,000 bee sting. Therefore, he only needed to maintain the aura of the 10,000 bee sting to the level of a half-earth rank treasure, and then take it out to use, and it would not arouse suspicion. After quickly communicating with Zero, Lin Xian also flicked his finger, and suddenly a black light appeared in the void. Seeing this scene, everyone looked up and craned their necks to see. The black light in the void suddenly stopped and spun rapidly. Then, a small black cauldron appeared in the void. The black cauldron floated in the air, emitting a similar aura. However, unlike the fiery aura from before, this black cauldron's aura was somewhat cold. What kind of pill cauldron is this? Why does it have such a cold and gloomy aura? Everyone looked at each other. As for the Heavenly Pill Pavilion's elder, he was shocked once again. Relying on their outstanding soul force, they could clearly sense that the aura emitted by the small black cauldron in the void was equally terrifying. It had also reached the level of a half-earth rank artifact. Soon after, their hearts trembled fiercely. They had never imagined that Lin Xian would also possess a half-earth step artifact-grade pill cauldron. On the other side, Xingtianyu's face was gloomy and even a little ferocious. He stared at the black cauldron in the sky, his body trembling slightly. Despicable! This is too despicable! He was driven mad, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Xingtianyu was about to go crazy. He really couldn't imagine that his opponent would be able to take out a half-earth step treasure cauldron. This was completely beyond his expectations. Originally, he wanted to use the pressure of the Nanming Ignis cauldron in his hand to frighten his opponent. But now, it seemed impossible. Because the black cauldron that his opponent had taken out was no weaker than his. And somehow, when he faced the black cauldron, there was an instinctive fear in his heart. Damn it, how could this guy have such a good thing in his hands? Not only Xingtianyu, but the disciples of the Shen family were also shocked. Their faces were ferocious, and they could not wait to rush up and snatch the black cauldron back. The disciples of the Divine Bird Palace also looked terrible. They stared fiercely at Lin Xian, and then comforted themselves. It's okay. Even if that guy took out a cauldron of the same level, so what? His strength is not as good as Brother Tianyu's. In the end, he will still lose. Even if the conditions are the same, his strength is not enough. He can't win. The disciples of the Shen family also regained their calmness and shouted again. Seeing the changes in everyone's faces, Lin Xian was expressionless, but he sneered in his heart. A half-earth step treasure? These people were really silly and cute. They actually thought that Xingtianyu could win this competition. It seemed like he had to use facts to slap them in the face in order to wake them up. Shaking his head slightly, Lin Xian did not pay attention to these people. Instead, he flicked his fingers and began to take out spiritual herbs to refine. Seeing this, Shen Tianyu also snorted coldly. Then, he focused his mind and calmed his qi, and a terrifying light burst out from his eyes. The next moment, he also waved his hand, and groups of spiritual herbs appeared in the air, floating along with his soul power. Seeing the two of them refining elixirs, the surrounding people also quieted down and did not even dare to breathe. They quietly watched the scene, and their hearts were filled with excitement. The alchemists in the field stared at the two of them, and they did not miss a single movement. Because these two people were both top-notch alchemists, watching this kind of competition would definitely give them great inspiration. The elders of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion stared at Lin Xian. There was no other way, because Lin Xian was refining the purple spirit elixir. That was the elixir that was currently in the limelight. If they could learn a thing or two from the other party's refining process, or find some clues, it would be an extremely important discovery for their alchemy. Therefore, these elders were all as if they had been injected with chicken blood. They stared at Lin Xian without blinking, and they did not even miss a single movement. But soon, they were disappointed because Lin Xian showed them the most common process. Some of the key processes, as well as the engraving of the elixir veins, were all hidden. They could not find out at all, unless they used their soul power to forcefully break it. But if they did that, they would not just be observing, but directly robbing. This was a big taboo for alchemists, so they would not do it. Moreover, Lin Xian was backed by an overlord like Senmu College. Even if they had 10 times the courage, they would not dare to forcefully investigate. Therefore, they could only watch anxiously, but their hearts were incomparably frantic. Although they could not see the most important part of the refining process, they were still extremely shocked. It was because the methods Lin Xian displayed were truly too exquisite. Every single move he made was executed perfectly, and it caused even these seniors to sigh in admiration. Is this really a young man? Everyone was puzzled because it would be impossible for someone to achieve this level of attainment without a few hundred years of practice. Genius! He is definitely a shocking genius! Lin Xian's talent was definitely not inferior to Shen Tianyu's. He wondered what kind of person Lin Xian's master was. How could he train such a peerless genius? Many alchemists were talking about it, and they were extremely envious. However, the faces of the disciples of the Shen family were dark. This was because the better Lin Xian performed, the more uncomfortable they felt. ***, why is this guy so powerful? Impossible, he definitely won't succeed in refining it. The cold young man of the Shen family looked ferocious and kept whispering. Chapter 1061. He was also a level 6 alchemist, but compared to Lin Xian, he was nothing. That was because Shen Tianyu's methods and experience were too exquisite, far beyond what he could compare with. He was even better than Shen Tianyu. Shen Tianyu's face was gloomy. Although he was refining the pill, he was still aware of what was going on outside. When he learned about Lin Xian's skillful and exquisite methods, his face suddenly became gloomy. Not only that, but a feeling of panic suddenly arose in his heart because the strength that Lin Xian displayed was not inferior to his at all. If it were not for the restriction of the soul power, Shen Tianyu would have been a level 7 alchemist. However, that was already enough to make him extremely shocked. Shen Tianyu knew that although he was also part of the younger generation, he was already in his 30s. Looking at Lin Xian's appearance, he was at most in his 20s. There was a difference of more than 10 years between the two of them. For a genius, the improvement that could be achieved in more than 10 years was extremely terrifying. In other words, if the two of them were the same age, he would definitely not be able to beat Lin Xian. That was because when he was in his 20s, he could not reach Lin Xian's level at all. Damn this guy! Shen Tianyu's heart was ferocious. I will not lose! The purple spirit pill's formula must be mine! In the end, he directly withdrew the last trace of his soul power, and no longer paid attention to the outside world. Instead, he focused on refining the pill in his hand. Without saying much, Shen Tianyu's strength was amazing. He was indeed a young genius at the master level. Under such circumstances, he was still able to quickly calm his mind and focus on refining pills. This point alone was enough to instantly kill a group of older generation figures. Lin Xian, on the other hand, was completely oblivious to all of this. He had been completely immersed in the process of refining the pill. At that moment, he was completely immersed in the process of refining the pill and fell into a very ethereal state. This was not the first time he had refined the purple spirit pill, so he was very familiar with it. Moreover, with the 10,000 bee sting in his hand, refining the purple spirit pill was not a challenge for him at all. However, he still meticulously carried on because in the process, he could find his own shortcomings and improve them. Time flowed by, and in the blink of an eye, half a day had passed. During this half a day, no one left. They didn't even move. They were like petrified statues, quietly watching. Because the battle between the two of them was really too exciting, even those martial artists who didn't understand alchemy were convinced. Because all methods were connected, the other party's performance in alchemy was the same principle when it came to martial arts. Therefore, even though they did not understand alchemy, they understood this logic. And those alchemists were even more shocked, because the alchemy of these two people had long since completely surpassed them, reaching an inconceivable level. If they didn't know the exact age of these two people, they would have suspected that these two people were two old monsters in disguise. However, just as everyone was exclaiming in shock, Lin Xian suddenly opened his eyes. His gaze was as sharp as a divine arrow. Then, he let out a low roar and quickly waved his finger, sending out streams of soul power into the 10,000 bee sting. What? Seeing this scene, those alchemy elders were all stunned. They naturally knew what Lin Xian's action meant, but because they knew, they were extremely shocked. This action meant that the alchemy was about to be completed, but this was simply impossible. One had to know that the other party was refining a 7th-grade pill. Moreover, it was an extremely special purple spirit pill among 7th-grade pills. It had only been half a day, and he had already completed it? The elders couldn't believe it, because according to their common sense, even if it was an ordinary 7th-grade pill, those powerful 7th-grade alchemists would need about a day or so to refine it. How could someone be like Lin Xian, who could refine it in half a day? Around them, those alchemists were also shocked, and each of them widened their eyes as if they had seen a ghost. Humph, he finished refining it so quickly. It definitely isn't a 7th-grade pill, the cold young man from the Shen family said coldly. Maybe he's even ruined it. Many people were discussing. Anyway, no one was optimistic about Lin Xian's chances. Because this speed was too fast, it was impossible for him to refine a 7th-grade pill. Lin Xian took in everyone's expressions, and the corner of his mouth curled up into a disdainful smile. Indeed, under normal circumstances, it was impossible to refine a 7th-grade pill in half a day, let alone an extremely special pill like the purple spirit pill. However, Lin Xian was different. He had the 10,000 bee sting in his hands, which was a true earth-grade treasure, and could greatly reduce the refining speed. Moreover, half a day was already Lin Xian's waterproof. According to his real speed, he would probably be able to refine it in 4 hours. However, he didn't dare to refine it with his full strength, otherwise, what would he do if he scared these people? Refining it in half a day had already scared these people. If he refined it in 4 hours, these people would definitely treat him as a monster and capture him to study. Lin Xian didn't want to get into trouble like this. With a wave of his hand, a light purple pill flew back to him and was put into the pill bottle. Then, Lin Xian recalled the 10,000 bee sting again. After doing all this, he stood up and looked ahead with a smile. There Xingtianyu was still refining the pill and didn't know what was going on outside. However, Lin Xian smiled. He had refined the purple spirit pill, and no matter what pill his opponent refined, it would be impossible for him to beat him. Therefore, he was sure to win this competition. When the crowd saw Lin Xian's smile, they suddenly exclaimed in a low voice. The Shen family's disciples' hearts thumped, and they felt a bad premonition rising from the bottom of their hearts. This guy, Don't tell me he really refined the purple spirit pill? How is this possible? He refined the purple spirit pill in half a day. Is he a monster? Impossible, it's definitely impossible. He must be bluffing. Yes, it must be so. The Shin family's disciples shook their heads frantically. In the distance, the elders of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion looked at each other and whispered. What do you think? Look at the pill veins and the pill fragrance. It should be a 7th grade pill, but I don't know if it's the purple spirit pill. Yes, it was too fast. I didn't see it clearly. Those elders were also grumbling. It's fine that you refined the pill so quickly, but you didn't even show us after you finished refining the pill. Are you trying to kill us? Well, my friend Lin, have you finished refining the pill? Finally, an elder of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion stood up and rubbed his hands with a smile. Yes, I've finished refining it, Lin Xian answered readily. The purple spirit pill? The elder asked again. Yes, the purple spirit pill. Lin Xian nodded. Hearing this, the crowd couldn't help but burst into an uproar. However, the Shin family's disciples jumped out and shouted, Nonsense, it can't be the purple spirit pill. How can that pill be refined in such a short time? Yes, I think you must be bluffing to get away with it. Show it to us if you have the ability. Yes, if you can really refine it, I'll eat the sword in my hand. I'll eat it too. I don't believe that he can really refine the purple spirit pill. The Shin family's disciples clamored. Chapter 1062. The elders of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion were also excited. They quickly said, Young friend Lin, why don't you take it out for us to have a look? You'll have to take it out sooner or later anyway. All right, Lin Xian said helplessly. Originally, I wanted to wait for Brother Shin to finish refining the elixir. If I reveal it halfway, I'm afraid it will affect Brother Shin's refining. All right, stop looking for excuses. Our brother Tianyu will not be affected. The disciples of the Shin family sneered and did not believe him. All right, since you want to die, I can't do anything about it. Lin Xian opened his palm and revealed the elixir bottle in his hand. So many eyes here have seen that I have never changed this bottle. This means that the elixir in this bottle is indeed freshly refined by me. I hope the elders of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion can bear witness to this. That's right, we can prove it. No one can do anything under our noses, the elders said as they patted their chests. Young friend Lin, quickly open it and let us have a look. Lin Xian nodded and did not hesitate. He opened the elixir bottle and poured out a light purple elixir. Then, he waved his hand and let it float in the air. At this moment, everyone opened their eyes wide and stretched their necks to look at the sky. The next moment, they let out a wave of exclamations. Purple spiritual elixir, it's really the purple spiritual elixir. What, how is this possible? Oh my God, he refined the purple spiritual elixir in half a day. He must be an amazing alchemy genius. Brother Lin, you're my idol from now on. Countless people discussed animatedly, their expressions extremely excited. The elders of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion were also shocked. They opened their eyes wide and looked at the sky. That's right, this elixir pattern and elixir fragrance. It's definitely the purple spiritual elixir. This young man has a bright future ahead of him. That's right, he's only about 20 years old, and he already has such heaven-defying strength. I'm afraid he might break through to become an 8th grade alchemist in the future. The elders of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion shook their heads and their expressions were filled with envy and amazement. However, the disciples of the Shin family were dumbfounded. They were all dumbfounded and panic-stricken. The faces of the disciples of the Divine Bird Palace were also gloomy. They did not expect that Lin Xian would actually be able to refine the purple spirit pill. This was definitely not good news for them. Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. Dream, I must be dreaming. The gloomy young man from the Shin family jumped up in disbelief. It's fake. I don't believe it. It must be fake. The Shin family disciples still wanted to quibble. At this moment, Wang Li took a step forward and coldly shouted, Stop quibbling. Who was it that said he wanted to eat a treasured sword on the spot? Come out and eat it. Yes, yes. I heard that there are people who want to eat treasured sabers on the spot. Where are they? Let me see. The surrounding crowd also began to jeer. You are all disciples of the House of Kings. Since he said that he would eat the sword on the spot, then let's eat it on the spot. Don't think about running away. Otherwise, you will lose the face of the House of Kings. Hearing this, the surrounding warriors were extremely excited. They all looked at the Shin family disciple expectantly. The Shin family disciple's face was dark and gloomy. His eyes were full of despair. Before, they were confident that Lin Xian would not be able to refine it, so they dared to say such big words. But now, he had actually refined it, and was asking them to fulfill their previous promise. This made them even want to die. One must know that those weapons were all spiritual-grade treasures. They were extremely hard. How could they be eaten? They were afraid that they could not even bite it. The group of people had long faces and ugly expressions. The group of Shin family members had long faces, and their expressions were extremely ugly. At this moment, Shin Yulong also stood up and shouted coldly, Kid, don't go too far. Don't forget that we are from the House of Kings. It is precisely because you are from the House of Kings that I have to urge you to fulfill your promise. Otherwise, you will lose face for the House of Kings. That would be terrible. Lin Xian also sneered and said, I know that you people from the House of Kings value your reputation the most. So, you should eat it. Hearing this, Shin Yulong was so angry that he vomited blood. The Shin family disciples were also so angry that they were trembling. At this moment, they even had the feeling of wanting to escape. When the surrounding crowd saw this scene, they were all extremely excited. It was as if they had been injected with chicken blood. This was too shocking and too exciting. One must know that the other party was a disciple of the House of Kings. They were high and mighty, and no one dared to provoke them. But now, Lin Xian directly broke this legend and made the disciples of the House of Kings suffer. Moreover, they suffered a loss and could not fight back at all. Now, seeing the faces of the Shin family disciples that were holding back blood, the crowd could not help but want to laugh. Eat it. If you don't eat it, you will lose face for the king's family, Lin Xian said. Then you will be punished when you return to your family. So, I am saying this for your own good. Hurry up and eat it on the spot. Eat your grandpa. Shin Yulong had the urge to vomit blood. For our own good. If we eat it, we will really be losing face for the House of Kings. So this time, we can't eat it even if we are beaten to death. Seeing the Shin family disciples lowering their heads and refusing to admit their mistakes, Lin Xian sighed. Alas, the world is degenerating day by day. I didn't expect that the top House of Kings on the continent would not keep their promise. It seems that the world is really miserable. Yeah, what House of Kings? They can't even keep their word. Wang Li also despised them. When the crowd heard this, they also laughed. The faces of the disciples of the Divine Bird Palace also darkened. They did not want to stay any longer, so they quietly escaped quickly. There was no other way, it was too embarrassing. If they stayed any longer, they would probably be laughed at to death. Hey, three-headed bird, why are you leaving? Are you not waiting for the result? Lin Xian looked at the escaping disciples and shouted loudly. Hearing this voice, the disciples of the Divine Bird Palace stiffened and almost fell. Then, those people sped up and left the courtyard quickly without looking back. Seeing this scene, the crowd was stunned. Damn, it was too unbelievable. With just a few words, he scared away the disciples of the 6th grade intermediate sect. This kind of scene had probably never happened before. At this time, Lin Xian looked at the Shin family with a smile again. Hey, your allies have all run away. It seems that they have no confidence in you. Hearing Lin Xian's words and the contempt of the crowd, the disciples of the Shin family could not bear it anymore. They lowered their heads one by one and wished they could find a hole to hide in. The gloomy young man was even more unbearable. He trembled all over and his face was extremely red. Then, he finally could not bear it and spat out a mouthful of blood. Hey, he spat out blood, he spat out blood. The disciples of the Shen family are in the wrong. Looking at this scene, Wang Li shouted loudly. Hearing this, the gloomy young man trembled with anger and spat out another mouthful of blood. He was about to go crazy. However, this mouthful of blood happened to be sprayed on Shen Tianyu's face. Chapter 1063. The gloomy young man was stunned. The other disciples of the Shen family were also stunned. They did not expect this to happen. The crowd was also stunned. They all turned their heads and looked at Shen Tianyu. Shen Tianyu's face was splashed with blood and his alchemy state was forcibly interrupted. He opened his eyes angrily, and his expression was terrible. The next moment, the Nanming Ignis cauldron in front of him suddenly trembled. Then, as if it had exploded, a low sound came from the cauldron. Everyone exclaimed when they saw this. They knew that this meant that the alchemy had failed. Shen Tianyu's face became ferocious when he heard the explosion and saw the elixir turn into ashes. He wiped the blood off his face. His cold eyes were like lightning as he quickly scanned the crowd. Who dares to interrupt my alchemy? He was so angry that his whole body was trembling. His voice was full of murderous intent. Because this was a competition that everyone was watching, and because of his distinguished status, he thought that no one would dare to interrupt his alchemy. Therefore, he did not take any protective measures. However, he did not expect that he would be interrupted at the most critical part of his alchemy, and he would fail directly. He could not accept this. After all, he was in the middle of a competition. And it was a competition with stakes. Instantly, he thought of Lin Xian. Only Lin Xian dared to mess with him. However, the next moment, he saw Lin Xian standing with his hands clasped behind his back. He smiled and shook his head. Don't look at me. I'm not messing with you. This is the doing of the Shen family's son. Then, he pointed to the side. Family's disciple? Shen Tianyu's face was ferocious. He did not believe it, but he still looked over subconsciously. Then, his body stiffened. It was as if lightning had flashed through his mind. He was completely stunned. That was because he saw that the gloomy young man's mouth was full of blood. He was staring blankly in front of him. Needless to say, that mouthful of blood must have come from him. Damn it! Shen Tianyu gritted his teeth. He did not expect that the person who interrupted his alchemy was from his own family. His face was ferocious. With a cold murderous intent, he quickly walked toward the gloomy young man. Brother Tianyu! Seeing Shen Tianyu walking over, the gloomy young man trembled in fear and almost cried. I didn't do it on purpose. It's all that brat's fault. It's all his fault. The gloomy young man wanted to say something, but Shen Tianyu shouted, Useless trash, get out of my way! As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his palm and slapped the gloomy young man's face, sending him flying. Suddenly, the gloomy young man's body flew into the air. He spun a few times in the air before he was sent flying. Half of his face was extremely swollen like a pig's head. All of his teeth were broken and scattered on the ground. He was in an incomparably miserable state. Scram! I don't want to see you again! Shen Tianyu's voice was cold. If it were not for his own disciple, he would have killed Yi Futian already. The gloomy young man's face was contorted in pain, but he didn't dare to leave. He could only lie on the ground and tremble. Ayaya, killing each other, what a disgusting scene! Lin Xian sighed. The people around them tried hard to hold back their laughter and kept shaking their heads. They knew that the Shen family was completely defeated today. Hearing Lin Xian's voice, Shen Tianyu suddenly turned around. His cold eyes were like sharp blades as he stared at Lin Xian. Don't be so smug. I was just forcibly interrupted. Under normal circumstances I wouldn't. Halfway through his words, he suddenly stopped. Then, as if he had thought of something, his pupils suddenly shrank and he was extremely shocked. Impossible, why are you still standing? Where's your alchemy tripod? Alchemy tripod? I put it away long ago. Do you think it's as slow as a snail like you? Finished refining? Impossible! Shen Tianyu quickly shook his head with a look of disbelief. Then he sneered. What? Did you refine a sixth-grade elixir? A sixth-grade elixir? Hearing this, the people around them had strange expressions. Lin Xian also sneered. I think it's better for your own family to tell you the answer. Seeing the strange expressions of the people around him, Xin Tianyu had a bad feeling. However, he suppressed it and turned to look at the Shen family disciples. Tell me, what's going on? However, the Shen family disciples looked pale and did not dare to answer. Yulong, tell me, what's going on? What kind of elixir did that guy refine? When Xin Tianyu saw that the Shen family disciples did not dare to answer, he could only look at Xin Yulong. Xin Yulong's face was also gloomy. However, he still said in a low voice, That guy refined the purple spirit elixir. What? The purple spirit elixir? Xin Tianyu was stunned. These 3 words were like a sudden clap of thunder that struck him dumb. He had never expected that Lin Xian could really refine the purple spirit elixir. Originally, in his opinion, Lin Xian's strength was not good enough and he was simply an impostor. It was impossible for him to refine a 7th-grade elixir. However, now he had refined it. Of course, our brother Xian spent half a day refining the purple spirit elixir. At this time, Wang Li, who was next to him, also said proudly. Half a day! Hearing this, Xin Tianyu's pupils shrank and he was shocked again. He was very suspicious. However, when he saw the expressions of the Shen family disciples in front of him, his heart sank. In other words, everything that Xin Tianyu said was true. In half a day, Xin Tianyu had refined the precious purple spirit elixir. However, he had ruined the elixir. The difference between them could be said to be obvious at a glance. When he thought of this, a fire of jealousy rose in his heart, and his whole person became a little twisted. One had to know that he was a proud son of God and an alchemy genius. He was extremely talented. He had become a 7th-grade alchemist at a young age and had been greatly nurtured by his family. His goal was to become an 8th-grade alchemist in his lifetime. It could be said that he had never taken anyone seriously, let alone those of the same generation. Yet now, a youth who was even younger than him actually defeated him in alchemy. He could not accept this. At this moment, Xin Tianyu's heart was going crazy. He looked at the strange expressions of the people around him. His heart was heavy, and he felt like dying. He did not want to stay here for a moment longer. However, just as he turned around, Lin Xian's voice gently floated from behind. I say, you seem to have forgotten something. Where's the bet? Yes, 2 6,000-year-old spiritual herbs and 3 5,000-year-old spiritual herbs. You shouldn't have forgotten, right? Wang Li reminded him. Hearing this, Xin Tianyu's body trembled and he almost fell down. Those spiritual herbs were his treasures. How could he bear to part with them? However, he had already said these words. There was no way he could deny it. Moreover, in front of so many people, he did not dare to deny it. This was because when the time came, it would not only be him who would be embarrassed, but the entire Shen family would be embarrassed too. Therefore, he could only swallow this loss in silence. Chapter 1064. With a heavy snort, Xin Tianyu reluctantly took out 2 6,000-year-old spiritual herbs and 3 5,000-year-old spiritual herbs from his storage ring. Then, he threw them behind him. Lin Xian, on the other hand, waved his hand. Instantly, a stream of air surged and formed a gentle gust of wind that completely caught the 5 stalks of spiritual herbs. They are really supreme-grade spiritual herbs! Lin Xian sighed. Thank you. Remember to look for me when you want to compete. Of course, you have to prepare the stakes in advance. Hearing this, Xin Tianyu's head was about to explode. He suppressed the anger in his heart, turned into a ray of light, and disappeared instantly. Hey, why are you still here? Do you want to continue to stay and eat weapons? Lin Xian turned around and looked at the Shen family disciples who were still there. Hearing this, the Shen family disciples trembled and quickly left like stray dogs. Seeing this, the surrounding people let out an earth-shattering exclamation. It was too shocking. A young man had defeated all the disciples of the House of Kings. It was too shocking. Moreover, what made the crowd even more excited was that they had seen this incredible process with their own eyes. How could they not be excited? Lin Xian was also very happy. He looked at the supreme grade spiritual herbs in his hand and was overjoyed. These spiritual herbs were very precious, and just enough to make up for what he lacked. He had to admit that Xingtianyu was really a god of fortune. Then, Lin Xian put away the supreme grade spiritual herbs and left the heavenly elixir pavilion with Wang Li and the others. However, not long after he left, the news spread and instantly spread throughout Windy City. When the people outside heard the news, they were shocked. What did you say? In the end, Lin Xian won the competition, and Xingtianyu made the elixir explode? Oh my god, this is unbelievable! When the crowd heard the news, they were shocked. At the same time, they admired Lin Xian even more. In a short period of time, Lin Xian's reputation had reached the peak in Wind-Seeking City, and no one could surpass him. Lin Xian also bid farewell to Windy City for the time being and returned to Senmu College to prepare for the upcoming secret territory. Lin Xian had just returned to Senmu College when a deacon from the college sent Lin Xian some information about the mystic realm. After Lin Xian looked at it, he had a general understanding of this mystic realm. This secret realm was called the Remote Sky Secret Realm. It was a secret realm passed down by Liu Yang in ancient times. Because it was an independent space and only opened once every 100 years, it was not affected by the outside world. A large number of natural treasures grew inside. It could be said that this was a place that countless martial artists yearned for. However, there were also countless risks inside. Naturally, there were the restrictions and formations that had been passed down since ancient times. The slightest carelessness could lead to the destruction of both body and soul. But overall, it was still a very tempting secret realm. At the same time, Lin Xian also found out that the opening of the Remote Sky Secret Realm this time was very strange. It was 20 years earlier than before. In other words, some unexpected changes might have happened inside. Moreover, the people from the powerful forces could not forcefully explore it because the Remote Sky Secret Realm had a special restriction on cultivation. It only allowed martial artists below the 6th heaven of Venerable Realm to enter. Therefore, some powerful elders from the powerful forces could not enter at all. Moreover, according to the information, Challenger-level forces could send 100 people, and 6th-rank sects could send 50 people. The other 5th-rank sects and some clans could only send 10 people each. Among these people, most of them would be sent to the younger generation. Only a small number of them would be sent to the older generation. Of course, the exact age distribution was different for each force and sect. Moreover, according to the information that Lin Xian had gathered after returning these few days, even if there were only 100 people, not every expert on the Mystic Venerable leaderboard would be willing to enter. After all, it was extremely dangerous inside, and the slightest carelessness could lead to death. On the contrary, the martial artists who were not on the leaderboard were unusually excited and wanted to give it a try. Even so, not everyone could enter. They had to pass the college's strict assessment before they could enter. However, Lin Xian did not need to take part in the assessment. He only needed to prepare patiently and wait for the Remote Sky Secret Realm to open. Soon, the news of the Remote Sky Secret Realm spread. All the disciples of Senmu College knew about it. Instantly, the entire Senmu College became lively. Ever since the demon-slaying conference, Senmu College had been peaceful for a long time. No one had expected it to explode again. It could not be helped because the Remote Sky Secret Realm was more attractive than the demon-slaying conference. There were countless heavenly treasures inside, and even some extinct spirit herbs and martial arts that had been lost. It could be said that it was a treasure trove waiting for everyone to exploit. However, the danger there was also great. It was several times more dangerous than the demon-slaying conference. Therefore, every disciple was discussing whether to enter the Remote Sky Secret Realm or not. At the same time, the college also held a registration event. After all, it was a major event. Not everyone could enter if they wanted to. It had to be decided through a competition. Although the remote sky secret realm was dangerous, there were still many houses that registered. That was because it was an opportunity for them. It was an opportunity to become a dragon overnight. In fact, it was not only Senmu College that was doing this. The other major forces were doing the same. They were quickly selecting suitable disciples. The registration period was only 1 day. Therefore, Senmu College was very lively now. Those disciples who were in seclusion or outside rushed back to participate. Some of the older generation also wanted to try. Among them, Lin Xian was directly exempted from the test. At the same time, Du Guotian and Li Yunfei received the same treatment. It could not be helped. The three of them were very powerful. They were the top of the younger generation in the college. Therefore, they did not need to participate in the competition. In addition, there was another person who was exempted from the competition. That was Murong Qingqing. However, she did not use Senmu College's quota. Instead, she used the Murong family's quota. Murong Qingqing had already told Lin Xian about this before she left. Therefore, Lin Xian was not surprised. After all, the remote sky secret realm was very dangerous. The Murong family probably hoped that Murong Qingqing would stay with their disciples. That would greatly increase their chances of survival. As for the competition, Lin Xian did not pay any attention to it. That was because his strength was still at the top of the younger generation in the college. Only Du Guotian and Li Yunfei could be his opponents. The others were not qualified at all. Therefore, he did not pay much attention to them. What he was really worried about was the disciples of the other clans. For example, the Shen family and the Murong family. The core disciples of the House of Kings were not weaker than the top 10 in the college. They were the real enemies. Therefore, he had been in seclusion these days to prepare. Chapter 1065. His cultivation had steadily increased, and he could be considered an extremely strong existence among the 4th-level venerables. Furthermore, he had consumed the purple spirit pill, which had perfected the ice lotus martial spirit and the great dragon sword spirit. His other concepts had also reached perfection, and he was just short of an opportunity to transform them into a true martial spirit. As for the blood sword inheritance, it was now stuck at the 4th level because it required a powerful battle to level up. He had already cultivated the other 2 earth tier cultivation techniques to the small success stage. His current cultivation was not enough to reach the large success stage. It seems that raising my cultivation is the way to go. Lin Xian took a deep breath. In the last few days, he was not in seclusion, but completely relaxed. At the same time, he also received a piece of news that the Academy had made an exchange list. This meant that warriors could use the items in the remote sky secret realm to exchange for items in the true spirit palace. Of course, the value had to be equal. Immediately, Lin Xian became interested. He remembered that he still owed the Crimson Dragon a portion of dragon blood. Let's go take a look. Lin Xian was tempted and prepared to take a look at the so-called exchange list. There were many items on the exchange list, which meant that there were many treasures in the remote sky secret realm. Otherwise, there would not be so many items on the list. Lin Xian even saw the exchange of Earth-tier martial arts, which shocked him greatly. One had to know that Earth-tier martial arts were the top martial arts on the continent, and now, Senmu College was actually exchanging them. One could imagine how precious the items were. He swept his gaze across the list and quickly searched through it. Then, he narrowed his eyes. Because at the top of the list, there was an exchange item, and that was dragon blood. A drop of dragon blood was worth 7 to 8 million spiritual value points in the true spirit palace. This price was very high. Lin Xian had been in the academy for so long, but he only had 1 million spiritual value points. If he wanted to gather 7 to 8 million spiritual value points, he would have to work hard for 2 to 3 years without exchanging anything. This would consume too much time for him, and it was not worth it at all. But now, there was an exchange list. In other words, as long as he obtained the corresponding item in the remote sky secret realm, he could exchange for a drop of dragon blood. Dark sky feather, Lin Xian muttered as he stared at the ceiling. This was the item that had been exchanged with the dragon blood. Dragon blood! The Crimson Dragon was also excited. He had been waiting for this day for a long time. However, he soon revealed a suspicious expression. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with the dragon blood? Lin Xian asked. No, look at that exchange item. The Crimson Dragon was excited. The heavenly netherworld feather, could it be the heavenly netherworld bird's feather? Heavenly netherbird? Lin Xian was stunned, and then his heart trembled violently. Are you sure? Something like that. Otherwise, I can't think of any bird feathers that can be exchanged for dragon blood, the Crimson Dragon replied. Hiss! Lin Xian sucked in a breath of cold air when he heard that. Then, his eyes lit up. One of his goals in coming to the Blood Realm was to find the heavenly netherbird. Back then, Lin Xian had obtained an incomplete map that recorded information about the heavenly netherbird. That was why Lin Xian came to the Blood Realm. However, the map was incomplete, so Lin Xian hadn't made any progress. He didn't expect that he would receive information about the heavenly netherbird. The heavenly netherworld secret realm. Could this secret realm be related to the heavenly netherbird? Lin Xian's eyelids twitched. It seems like it. The Crimson Dragon was also shocked. I was wondering why I couldn't find it. It's a secret realm by itself. The two of them were too excited because the heavenly netherbird was a demonic beast on the heaven list. It was very useful to both of them. The Crimson Dragon needed the other's blood and demonic core to recover its strength. As for Lin Xian, he wanted to deal with the flame to form his fire martial soul. Originally, he just wanted to go in and get some treasures. He didn't expect to find something like this. Lin Xian was excited. He had to get the heavenly netherworld flame. He had a map in his hand. Perhaps it would be useful. After making a mental note of this name, Lin Xian left the exchange board. The other disciples also stared at the list excitedly and kept discussing. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was the day when the heavenly netherworld's secret realm would open. The college also gathered all the disciples who had obtained the right to enter the heavenly netherworld's secret realm. There were a total of 100 people. 70 of them were young disciples and 30 were old martial artists. These people stood on top of an enormous ancient array platform, waiting quietly. Lin Xian was naturally among them. His eyes flashed as he scanned the surroundings. Finally, he looked at the older generation figures. These older generation figures were extremely powerful and far surpassed the younger generation. Most of them were at the 6th heaven of the Supremacy Realm. Lin Xian even saw 1 or 2 7th heaven of the Supremacy Realm experts. Immediately, he was puzzled. According to the information he received, 7th heaven of the Supremacy Realm couldn't enter. But now, there was 7th heaven of the Supremacy Realm standing here. This was really strange. However, the Crimson Dragon said telepathically, "There's nothing to be curious about. Senmu College probably has a special method to let 7th heaven of the Supremacy Realm in. But looking at the number of people, the method to enter must be quite expensive." I see. Hearing the Crimson Dragon's explanation, Lin Xian understood. But then, he became cautious. Since Senmu College had such a method, the other king-level forces should have the same method. If they were also interested in the heavenly netherworld bird, the situation would be troublesome. It seemed that the heavenly netherworld secret realm was indeed very dangerous. He had to be careful. Everyone stood on the array platform and waited quietly. Dean Xian also stood at the front with his hands behind his back and looked up at the sky. A few elders near him were also whispering to each other. At the same time, on the other side of the Tianwu continent, on a huge mountain, several figures floated in the clouds like immortals. They looked very dreamy. On the mountain, there were strange runes flashing. They were like red soldering irons, shining with a strange light. Not only that, but the other 5 mountains around it were also shining. They connected together and formed a huge light array. 6 huge mountains pierced through the clouds. The runes on them became brighter and brighter, forming rays of light that intertwined in the void. Finally, they formed a huge array. This scene lasted for a long time before it gradually stabilized. At this moment, a pair of eyes opened in the void. A merciless gaze tore through the sky. Accompanying it was a terrifying aura. Then, a majestic voice rang out. The heavenly netherworld secret realm had finally opened. This voice was low and carried a terrifying aura. Even the void could not withstand it. The hearts of the disciples in the distance trembled. Xinqiang, let's start with you. That majestic voice rang out again. If someone was here, they would definitely exclaim in surprise. That was because these people were from the Shin family. Hearing that majestic voice, a middle-aged man stepped on the void and slowly walked over. He looked at the light array in front of him with a burning gaze. Chapter 1066. The hundreds of disciples at the back trembled when they saw the majestic figure. There was fear and respect in their eyes. Uncle Xinqiang, go for it! Many disciples at the back clenched their fists. Xinqiang calmed himself down and looked up at the heaven's eye in the sky. Then, he said respectfully, Ancestor, I'm going in. Okay. The deep voice sounded in the sky with the might of a king. Then, Xinqiang stepped out with a cold expression. When he stepped onto the dark red light platform, the entire void started to shake. The huge light formation in the sky also shook and countless cracks appeared on it. Xinqiang's cultivation has improved again. An ordinary seventh heaven supremacy can't cause such a commotion. Yeah, the teleportation formation can't take it anymore. However, if he can go in, he'll definitely get a great opportunity. Don't worry, the other forces won't dare to try, but the Shin family can definitely send him in safely. Up in the sky, a few elders were having a quick discussion while the hundreds of disciples in the distance were also nervously watching this scene. Obviously, the middle-aged man called Xinqiang was a seventh heaven supremacy. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible for him to enter the remote sky mystery realm. However, as the House of Kings, the Shin family naturally had a special method. In the void, the huge light formation shone brightly and quickly communicated with the world. A huge passage appeared in the void. However, the passage was extremely unstable and seemed to show signs of breaking at any time. It was the passage to the remote sky mystery realm. However, it only allowed martial artists below the sixth heaven supremacy to enter. Above this level, the passage would become extremely unstable. If a powerful martial artist tried to force his way in, he might be torn to pieces by the extremely unstable power of space. Now, the middle-aged man called Xinqiang was about to experience that. Under the effect of the huge light formation, his body floated towards the dark passage. Then, the passage shook slightly and formed countless terrifying cracks. It was as if the middle-aged man was about to be devoured. It was a terrifying scene. If one was enveloped by the terrifying power of space, one would not be able to escape. Therefore, the middle-aged man was extremely dangerous at the moment. When the hundreds of disciples behind saw this, they exclaimed and were extremely nervous. However, Xinqiang snorted coldly in the void. He waved his hand and a stream of light appeared above his head. It shone down and covered his body. Earth-rank treasure fragment! Seeing this, a disciple exclaimed, Earth-rank treasure fragment! When the surrounding disciples heard this, they were envious. Although it was a fragment, it was more terrifying and precious than a half-Earth-rank treasure. No wonder the other party dared to enter the remote sky secret realm despite being a seventh-layer venerable. It turned out that he had a terrifying weapon like the fragment of an Earth-rank treasure artifact. Many disciples quickly discussed among themselves, and their hearts were finally at ease. Sure enough, in the void above, under the effect of the Earth-class treasure fragment, Xinqiang's figure rapidly shuttled through the passageway and disappeared. After Xinqiang, a few older martial artists walked out and used special methods to enter the remote heaven secret realm. Only after the older generation had left would it be the younger generation's turn. However, compared to the older Xinch fragment, the younger Xinch fragment was much safer. Because none of them were above the sixth heaven of the venerable realm, they did not have to worry about being killed by the power of space. When the Shin family entered the remote sky mystery realm, the Murong family was also making preparations. At this moment, a pitch-black tunnel appeared above the Murong family. It was like a huge beast in the abyss opening its mouth. It was extremely terrifying. Qing Cheng, have you really thought it through? Although there are many treasures inside, it is also extremely dangerous. There was a period of time when the death rate in the remote sky mystery realm was 50%. A delicate-looking young man said. This young man was extremely handsome. He was like a fairy child and had an otherworldly aura. Although he looked like a young man, he spoke very maturely. However, no one dared to look down on him. Even the surrounding elders looked at him with respect. This was because although this young man looked young, his eyes were filled with vicissitudes of life. When he looked around, he emitted a king-like aura. This completely opposite scene appeared on this young man at the same time, making him seem mysterious. Great-grandfather, don't worry. I've thought it through. Besides, with the treasures you gave me, I won't be in too much danger. Murong Qingqing smiled. All right, since you've decided, let's begin. Hearing this, everyone's expression froze. Then, they looked ahead. Under the pitch-black tunnel, there was a beautiful figure. She was like a fairy and did not have a trace of the mortal world. Behind her were nearly 100 young disciples, all of whom were waiting excitedly. Murong Qingqing smiled faintly. Like a fairy, she flew into the tunnel above. After Murong Qingqing landed, the tunnel, which was still trembling, became extremely stable. There was not even a trace of abnormality. Looking at the gradually disappearing figure, everyone was amazed. In particular, the elders nodded in satisfaction. It seemed that the bloodline in this girl's body had awakened. Otherwise, with her cultivation, she would not be able to stabilize the space tunnel. Yes, the bloodline has finally awakened. Our Murong family might have another king-like figure soon. A few elders were excited. However, the handsome young man shook his head slightly. Qingqing had a long way to go. She should not be limited to the family. Compared to here, the outside world was more exciting and could allow her to grow. The handsome young man's words shocked the elders. However, no one dared to say anything. Palace of Ares, holy land of martial arts. A huge palace stood in the clouds. On the majestic door, there was a divine sword and a demonic saber carved on it. The two intersected, forming the totem of the Palace of Ares. In the Palace of Ares, a skinny old man sat in a majestic hall. This old man's aura was deep and terrifying. It was as if he could destroy the world with a raise of his hand. This person was the vice palace master of the Palace of Ares. However, it was obvious that his faction still controlled the Palace of Ares. Below the throne, there was a middle-aged man. He was wearing a blood-red robe. His eyes were filled with arrogance like an overlord. It wasn't easy. Finally, at the last moment before the opening of the remote sky secret realm, we managed to seize control. The middle-aged man said with a smile. There was a trace of joy and excitement in his voice. It's nothing. Although that guy is strong, it is not his real body. As long as we spend some time, we will be able to make him disappear one day. At that time, the entire Palace of Ares will be mine, the skinny old man said in a deep voice. There was a trace of sharpness in his voice. However, things don't seem to be perfect. According to the news from Windy City, that person seems to have appeared. Chapter 1067. That person? You mean the young man they're waiting for? Yes, said the middle-aged man. This information should be correct, but I didn't expect that young man to be related to Senma College. They even seem to value him. After hearing that, the elder pondered for a moment, then said, It's nothing. If it's really that person, he will definitely enter the remote sky secret realm this time. When the time comes, we'll send someone to kill him in the secret realm. Then, they will be completely defeated. Hearing this, a cold smile appeared on the middle-aged man's face. Lin Xian, right? Since you dare to appear, don't blame us. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for not existing in this world. A pitch-black tunnel also appeared on Senmu College's side. As soon as this tunnel appeared, the originally quiet scene instantly became chaotic. Then, under the command of Dean Xian and the other elders, the older generation started to enter the tunnel first. Fortunately, Senmu College was powerful and had a strong foundation. Therefore, the two 7th-level supremacies also entered the tunnel safely. Next, it was the younger generation's turn. Dugu Aotian carried a long sword on his back and was tall and strong. He turned to look at Lin Xian and said in a deep voice, "Brother Lin, I'll go first." After saying that, he stomped his foot and instantly disappeared into the black tunnel above like a sword gleam. Then, Li Yunfei also glanced at Lin Xian, turned around, and soared into the sky. Seeing those two figures, Lin Xian also took a deep breath. His eyes were full of seriousness. He knew that it was his turn now. When Li Yunfei's figure also disappeared into the tunnel, Lin Xian moved. He did not fly rapidly. Instead, he flew slowly toward the black tunnel. However, just as he stepped into the black tunnel, the originally stable tunnel suddenly trembled slightly. Seeing this, everyone was stunned. They did not expect this to happen at all. It should be known that only when the first two 7th-level supremacies entered the tunnel would such a phenomenon occur. And now, the same phenomenon was happening to Lin Xian. This was simply too unbelievable. In an instant, Lin Xian's face turned extremely ugly. He couldn't understand why the black tunnel would suddenly change like this. One had to know that even though he was powerful, he didn't think that he could compare to a 7th-level venerated cultivator. Therefore, he couldn't figure it out at all. However, the current situation did not allow him to think too much about it. This was because from the way the passage was trembling, it seemed like it would soon shatter. Seeing this scene, the young disciples below were terrified. Even Headmaster Xian and the others had grave expressions on their faces. One had to know that Lin Xian's identity was special. He could not afford to lose him, let alone encounter danger in this passage. Thus, without any hesitation, school head Xian made her move. He formed a series of mystical hand seals that flew upwards in an attempt to take control of the black tunnel. However, it didn't seem to have much effect. On the other hand, the Crimson Dragon said, "Damn it, I forgot. Although my cultivation has dropped, my realm has indeed surpassed the King realm. After all, once one became a King realm cultivator, one's life level and soul would undergo heaven-defying changes, and they would be completely different from a venerable one. Therefore, even though the Crimson Dragon's cultivation was gone, his body and soul imprint were truly at the King realm. This kind of power was not allowed to pass through the black tunnel." Hearing the Crimson Dragon's words, Lin Xian's face became even more unsightly. What could he do? He had two choices now. One was to leave the Crimson Dragon behind and enter the black tunnel alone. However, although he would be safe in that way, the restrictions in the remote heavenly secret realm would be his biggest problem. After all, he had learned formations and restrictions from the Crimson Dragon, and he was far superior to ordinary formation masters. However, the ancient restrictions were not child's play. It would probably be very difficult for him to go against them with his current strength. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, he didn't want to leave the Crimson Dragon behind at all. However, if he didn't leave the Crimson Dragon behind, he would be killed by the spatial power. He couldn't resist this kind of power either. Therefore, facing him now seemed to be a dead end. "Zero, do you have any ideas?" Lin Xian had no choice but to ask Zero through voice transmission. Zero didn't say anything. Instead, it directly activated the 10,000 bee sting and shot out a black halo that enveloped Lin Xian's body. With the support of the Earth-rank treasure, Lin Xian was completely safe. Then, he quickly passed through the black tunnel and disappeared. Seeing this, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. That scared me to death. What happened just now? Why did something happen to the black tunnel? It shouldn't be. Although Lin Xian's strength is outstanding, it's far from being able to threaten the black tunnel. I think there must be a mistake. In any case, the phenomenon has disappeared. Lin Xian can be considered to have entered safely. The elders were completely relieved. However, they didn't notice the black light shot out by the 10,000 bee sting. They all thought that the black tunnel had calmed down by itself. It couldn't be helped. The black light was similar in color to the black tunnel. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to tell. Moreover, when Zero was controlling it, it used a relatively low-key method. Therefore, it was normal that the elders didn't notice it. However, Dean Xian frowned slightly. He had caught a glimpse of the faint light just now. However, he was just curious and didn't think much of it. Lin Xian didn't know any of this because he was still teleported into a strange space. With a flash of white light, Lin Xian's body appeared in the void. However, he immediately frowned. Because when the power of space disappeared, an extremely heavy force supported his body. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on him. This is... Lin Xian's expression changed drastically. He quickly activated the art of longevity. The spiritual energy in his body surged and formed a force to resist the gravity. Then, he landed safely and heaved a sigh of relief. The Crimson Dragon also came out of the storage ring. It kept waving its dragon claws in fear. F***CK, that scared me to death. That was so dangerous. Indeed, the situation just now was very dangerous. Fortunately, Lin Xian had many trump cards and finally passed through safely. The Crimson Dragon heaved a sigh of relief. Then, it sensed its surroundings and was surprised. The gravity here is different. It seems to be much heavier than outside. Indeed, Lin Xian's expression was solemn. He felt a force several times heavier than outside pressing down on him. However, his body had been nourished by many natural treasures and was extremely strong. This gravity was nothing to him. However, this strange scene made him extremely bewildered. That was because he had entered many arcane realms. For example, the monster-slaying world was a strange arcane realm. However, the monster-slaying world was nothing compared to this place. That was because this remote sky arcane realm was far superior to the monster-slaying world in all aspects. Especially in the air, there was a heavy pressure that made it hard for people to breathe. Chapter 1068. The air in the remote sky secret realm was heavier than Lin Xian had imagined. It also carried an ancient aura. It could not be helped. The remote sky secret realm was a secret realm that had been passed down since ancient times. It could be said to be extremely mysterious. Even after so many years, the various factions of the Tianwu continent had sent their elite disciples in, but they had only explored 10 or 20% of it. It was impossible to explore the entire place. In other words, more than 80% of the places in the remote sky secret realm were unexplored. After analyzing this, Lin Xian's expression did not look very good. However, he did not give up. He could give up on the other treasures, but he had to find the heavenly netherbird. Don't worry, Xiao Xuanzi. According to my judgment, the heavenly netherbird is definitely in this secret realm, the Crimson Dragon said. However, our first task is not to find the heavenly netherbird, but to find treasures to quickly increase our strength. After all, no one knew what state the heavenly netherbird was in right now. Lin Xian nodded. The Crimson Dragon was right. This place was extremely dangerous. Increasing his strength first was the best way. Just as the both of them were conversing, the void vibrated once more. One after another, figures appeared in the void and descended swiftly. Obviously, these people were also disciples of Senmu College. However, they had just entered and were naturally suppressed by the gravity here. One by one, they fell down like meteorites. However, these disciples of Senmu College were not ordinary people. After a moment of panic, they calmed down and used their methods to safely land. However, these people did not land in the same place as Lin Xian. They landed in a different region. It was a few thousand meters away from Lin Xian, and there were 2 mountains in between. In fact, Lin Xian understood after thinking about it. The black passageway allowed at most a 6th heaven venerable to pass through. Venerables above the 6th heaven could enter the passageway using ingenious methods, but they could not stay with the crowd. Instead, they were randomly sent to remote sky mystery land. In other words, the two 7th-level venerables from Senma College weren't here. As for Lin Xian, because he was carrying the Crimson Dragon, some abnormalities occurred and he also deviated from his trajectory. Fortunately, Zero acted in time, so the trajectory did not deviate by much. In the beginning, Lin Xian was not familiar with the Hidden Sky Secret Realm, so he did not plan to act alone. Instead, he planned to stay with the team for a period of time and make a decision after he had a thorough understanding of the place. With a flicker, Lin Xian flew towards the place where everyone was about to land. However, even though it was said to be flying, it was actually jumping because the air here was extremely dense, even suppressing martial artists from flying. This didn't mean that Lin Xian couldn't fly, but it would consume a lot of spiritual energy. In this unfamiliar place, preserving his strength was the most important thing. Therefore, Lin Xian only used his movement technique and quickly ran on the ground. In front, the seniors and young disciples completely settled down after landing. Then, they began to look around and count the number of people. Soon, they frowned because other than the two 7th-level venerables, they realized that Lin Xian was not with them. This surprised them greatly. However, they soon heaved a sigh of relief because they saw Lin Xian flying towards them quickly. "You're finally here. We thought you were randomly sent out too," Bing Ling said worriedly in the crowd. No, there was a slight deviation during the teleportation. Fortunately, it wasn't too far away. Lin Xian shrugged and returned to the team. The seniors also heaved a sigh of relief. Then, they looked around and said in a low voice, "Since this is your first time entering the Hidden Sky Secret Realm and you're not familiar with this place, it's better for everyone to stay together at the beginning." After hearing that, everyone nodded in agreement. Indeed, this place was unpredictable and dangerous. If everyone stayed together, their safety would be greatly increased. Moreover, they knew nothing about this place. If they went out alone, they might not be able to find anything. The following matters were easy to handle. With the seniors taking the lead, Lin Xian and the others began to walk in the Hidden Sky Secret Realm. "Now, let's confirm our location," one of the elders, Elder Song, said. Then, he took out a map and started to study it with everyone. Elder Song was very powerful and had reached the 6th-level Venerable Realm. Moreover, he was very old and had been here twice before. Therefore, no one was more familiar with the Hidden Sky Secret Realm than him. In front of him, even Dugu Outyan, Li Yunfei, and the others did not dare to act rashly. Elder Song and the seniors studied for a while and then said loudly, "If I'm not wrong, we should be in the Mirage Sea Zone." "Mirage Sea?" Wen Yan said. Everyone frowned. Even Lin Xian did not look too good. Because the Mirage Sea was very mysterious and rumored to be very terrifying, no one wanted to stay here. After taking a deep breath, Elder Song said in a low voice, "I think we should hurry up and leave this place." Everyone nodded and went on their way. The Crimson Dragon looked suspicious. "Mirage Sea? What kind of lousy name is this? There's not even a drop of water here. How can it be called the Mirage Sea?" It looked around for a long time but did not find anything. It could only follow Lin Xian. Then, Lin Xian and the others set off under Elder Song's lead. However, no one flew because flying here consumed too much spiritual power. It was not worth it. This was a test of everyone's movement skills. Those with good movement skills were like fish in water. They could even ingeniously reduce the pressure in the air. Lin Xian's movement skills were probably the best among them. He had no choice. His Void Tomb Illusory Demon Steps was an Earth-level movement skill. However, he did not walk too fast. Instead, he walked with the others. However, a few disciples who were confident in their movement skills chose to lead the way. Boom! However, Lin Xian and the others were walking when an earth-shattering sound suddenly came from the front. Then countless rays of light lit up like colorful clouds, shocking the surroundings. Along with it came a vast amount of spiritual power and the sound of fierce fighting. "Oh no, they're fighting!" When everyone heard the sound, their expressions changed. They all sped up and went to help. Lin Xian also took a step and flew out like a wisp of smoke. Soon, he saw the scene in front of him. There, more than 10 disciples were fighting with a pack of demon wolves. This pack of demon wolves was very terrifying. They had reached the level of demon general. Moreover, their demon chi had condensed into armor, making them even more difficult to deal with. For a moment, these demon wolves and the disciples in front of them were locked in a fierce battle. This was too shocking. One had to know that these disciples of Senma College were all genius warriors. In the outside world, ordinary demon generals were no match for them. They could almost kill them in a second. Even demon generals of the same level would not be so beaten up. But now, these people could not take down this pack of demon wolves. It was really shocking. Chapter 1069. It seemed that the gravity in the remote sky secret realm was not the only abnormal place. Even the demonic beasts were much stronger than those in the outside world. Fortunately, Lin Xian had more people on his side, and there were also older generation experts. One of the elders rushed over and snorted as he punched forward. The terrifying fist brought about a strong gust of wind and blew up a demonic wolf. Seeing this, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, they were shocked by the combat power of the older generation. As expected of the older generation, their combat power was too fierce. The rest of the older generation also attacked and killed more than 10 demonic wolves in an instant. When the remaining wolves saw this scene, they were finally frightened. They quickly howled and tried to escape in all directions. Hey, these demonic wolves are ancient remnant beasts. The fur and bones on them are very strange. If this material is used to refine weapons, it should be much better than those in the outside world. A few of the older generation looked at the demonic wolves' corpses on the ground with shining eyes. After hearing this, the disciples at the back were also shocked. As expected of the remote sky secret realm, there were indeed many treasures. Just a pack of demonic wolves was an ancient remnant beast. This place was full of treasures. Of course, in order to obtain rich treasures, one had to be powerful. Without these older generation figures, the younger generation would have to put in a lot of effort. Next, Elder Song divided them into groups. The younger generation was divided into 3 groups, led by Lin Xian, De Gaoyan, and Li Yunfei. The older generation figures stood guard at the side. Not long after, Lin Xian and the rest were intercepted again. It was still demonic wolves, but there were obviously more of them this time. There was even a wolf king in the group. This time, the battle was much more intense than before. All kinds of spiritual energy lights splashed everywhere. Lin Xian was also attacked, and the battle was about to start. He waved his hand, and a series of palm shadows rushed out with a terrifying icy aura. All the demonic wolves that were touched by the icy aura were quickly covered in frost. They were frozen and slowed down. Seeing this, the others attacked with all their might. Lin Xian did not fight the demon wolves with all his might. Instead, he acted as the commander, occasionally releasing his icy aura to control the entire battlefield. All of a sudden, Lin Xian's heart started pounding as a bad premonition rose from the bottom of his heart. He quickly released his soul force to scan the surroundings as he shouted, "Be careful! Pay attention to the plants around you!" His voice was like a clap of thunder, exploding in everyone's ears. Suddenly, the hearts of the Senma College students trembled, and they quickly formed solid defensive shields around their bodies. Sure enough, in the next moment, the grayish-brown plant nearby came to life. Like a demon, it kept swaying. Moreover, countless gray tree branches shot out from the ground like venomous pythons and quickly wrapped around the crowd. This change was very sudden. Some of the branches had jet-black poisonous thorns on them. It was obvious that they were covered in poison. If not for Lin Xian's warning, the disciples would have been pierced by the poisonous thorns. If that had happened, they would have been in danger. However, even with Lin Xian's warning, some of the disciples were still too slow. They did not dodge in time and were whipped by the grayish-brown vines. They were immediately sent flying. In fact, one of the disciples' protective light barrier was even cracked by it. Suddenly, the disciples' pupils shrank, and a look of horror appeared on his face. Fortunately, the poisonous thorns did not hurt his body. However, the great plants did not let these people go, especially the disciples who were sent flying. Countless vines quickly wrapped around them. Seeing this, Lin Xian snorted coldly. He flicked out a tempest sword ripple with his finger. It was as fast as lightning, slashing forward. Bang! The sound of an intense collision rang out. Terrifying energy spread out in all directions, instantly tearing the ground apart. Countless energy collided, forming a fierce wind that swept up sand and dust. It was like a tornado that swept in all directions. Lin Xian's sword was very sharp. It directly cut off the great tree branches. Thank you, Brother Lin! Those few disciples also had lingering fear on their faces as they quickly retreated and regrouped with the rest. However, although the crowd gathered together, they did not look good. This was because scarlet blood flowed out from the broken tree branches, instantly dyeing the ground red. Seeing this, the crowd gasped and felt their scalps go numb. A tree branch could actually bleed. This was the first time they had seen such a scene. Before the crowd could react, a shrill cry suddenly came from the depths of the ground. Then, the entire ground shook as if a huge monster had awakened and quickly emerged from the ground. The ground bulged, and then countless cracks appeared as it quickly rushed into the distance. A huge tree demon crawled up from the ground and roared ferociously. Its voice was terrifying. This tree demon was very large, almost 100 meters tall. There was a flat cut on its upper left side, which was caused by Lin Xian's sword qi. Lin Xian's sword qi had angered the tree demon below. It roared and its branches trembled. Like poisonous snakes, they quickly lashed out at the crowd. Be careful, these branches are highly poisonous, Lin Xian quickly reminded them. At the same time, he calmly dodged the attacks of the countless branches. The crowd also knew how powerful it was. They did not dare to fight it head-on, and quickly fled. At this moment, a cold shout rang out. Qi Hao, who was in the crowd, roared and waved his huge palm, slamming it to the front left. This palm was very terrifying. It shook the surroundings and the entire void was mercilessly torn apart. The blue palm was like a vast ocean as it ruthlessly blasted towards the great tree demon. However, the tree demon also roared. The countless branches on its body waved and quickly intertwined, forming a grey fist that blasted forward. Bang! An earth-shattering sound rang out. The tree demon's fist actually blocked the ocean blue palm's shadow. In fact, the power of the countless branches even managed to push Qi Hao back through the blue light pillar. Seeing this, the crowd's hearts trembled. They could not believe it. Who was Qi Hao? He was an expert in the top 10 of the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard. However, he was unable to take down the tree demon. This was too shocking. No wonder it was said that the remote sky mystery realm was extremely terrifying. Now, it seemed that it was true. But fortunately, Qi Hao was only blasted back and did not suffer any injuries. On the other side, Lin Xian roared and quickly waved his arm. Previously, he was only in control of the situation, and would only attack when there was danger. However, he could not care less now. The great tree demon's strength was beyond his expectations. He had to attack and defeat it as soon as possible. Countless pieces of ice gathered together to form an icy blue fist, which violently punched forward. The tree demon roared. The branches on its body trembled and formed a huge gray shield in front of it. However, it had underestimated the icy blue fist. Chapter 1070. When the frost fist approached the gray shield, it suddenly disintegrated and turned into 5 ice dragons that attacked the gray tree demon from 5 different directions. This change was very sudden. The gray shield tightly blocked 2 ice dragons, but the other 3 ice dragons fiercely slammed into its body, causing it to be knocked back. The giant tree demon only stopped after taking 7 or 8 steps back. However, the ground had been trampled beyond recognition. Lin Xian furrowed his brows when he saw this. The punch just now was not simple. Even an ordinary 4th-level supremacy would have been injured. However, the great tree demon was only forced back a few steps and did not suffer any substantial damage. This was beyond his expectations. Then, he snorted coldly and his eyes shone with a shocking light. The punch just now was just an ordinary punch. His true strength was not just that. He dared to guarantee that the great tree demon would not have it so easy. He bent his fingertips and the aura of wind and thunder gathered, forming a sword wave of spiritual power that swallowed the light. Then, Lin Xian flicked his finger, and the wind and thunder sword wave quickly surged out. The wind and lightning quickly rushed toward the great tree demon. Not only that, but the sword wave also contained the power of the great dragon sword soul. Its attack power was extremely strong. In addition to the wind and thunder attributes, the sword wave was extremely sharp. Boom! Boom! The giant sword wave hit the great tree body. Suddenly, countless lightning bolts jumped and wild winds danced, completely enveloping the other party. However, the black tree demon roared angrily and waved all the branches on its body to resist. However, Lin Xian did not give it a chance to turn around. With a flick of his finger, terrifying sword chi surged out and intertwined in the air, quickly slashing forward. Amidst the sword chi, the giant tree demon was beaten into a sorry state and screamed in pain. Seeing this, everyone was stunned. They all looked forward with their mouths wide open in disbelief. They knew the strength of the tree demon, especially the poisonous thorns on its branches. It was extremely terrifying. Even a fourth-level supremacy would not dare to take it head-on. Moreover, not long ago, Qi Hao, who was ranked in the top 10 of the Mystic Sovereign Leaderboard, had collided with the tree demon's palm and had been forced back. This further proved how powerful the tree demon was. However, such a terrifying tree demon was being beaten back repeatedly by Lin Xian, and it was in such a sorry state. This was far beyond everyone's expectations. Is this really Lin Xian? His strength is so terrifying. Yeah, this sword chi is too sharp, far surpassing those of the same level. Why do I feel like he's comparable to those of the older generation? Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air as their scalps went numb. Among those present, the only ones who possessed such combat prowess were those of the older generation. However, Lin Xian's display of such powerful combat prowess had truly shocked everyone present. However, at the moment when the crowd were discussing among themselves, those people of the older generation also arrived and began to attack. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian did not continue to attack. Instead, he withdrew the sword waves. In any case, with the help of these seniors, the great tree demon would not be able to escape. So, he might as well save his strength for a rainy day. As expected, under the joint attack of a few strong people of the older generation, the great tree demon shrieked in pain and was quickly torn apart. Seeing this scene, the crowd was still amazed. As expected of the older generation, they were simply too powerful, far surpassing the younger generation. Lin Xian was also shocked. Indeed, the combat prowess of the older generation was very strong. They were not on the same level as the younger generation. It seemed that his greatest enemy in the obscure secret mirror this time was the older generation of the other forces. Thinking of this, Lin Xian's heart turned heavy. He did not dare to be careless. After killing the tree demon, the older generation began to organize the tree demon's corpse to use as materials for refining weapons. As for the younger disciples, they quickly sat down cross-legged to recover their strength. Not long after, the older generation finished their work. The younger generation also opened their eyes, stood up, and set off once again. Along the way, the crowd did not speak. They all walked forward with their heads lowered because they really did not want to stay in the Mirage Sea Zone any longer. Some of the wealthier younger disciples even took out demonic beasts from their demonic beast pouches as mounts. In this way, the cultivator would be able to save a great deal of strength, and they would be able to display their greatest combat strength in battle. Lin Xian rubbed his chin when he saw this scene. He had 2 demonic beasts in his possession as well, but he thought for a moment, and didn't take them out in the end. One of his demonic beasts was the gold-wing eagle, and the other was the gold-eye toad. However, flying was restricted in this place, so the gold-winged eagle wasn't of much use. Moreover, even though this place was called the Mirage Sea, its surroundings were dry like a desert. So, the gold-eyed toad was probably unable to display much of its strength here. So, it was better to travel on foot. At dusk, the afterglow of the setting sun, everyone's shadows were extremely long on the ground. At this moment, the scorching temperature in the surroundings gradually vanished, and it was replaced by a trace of gloomy coldness. Everyone was shocked when they sensed the changes in their surroundings, and they frowned tightly. Elder Song had a solemn expression as well, and he said in a low voice, "The Mirage Sea Zone is extremely famous. According to rumor, it's extremely hot during the day and extremely cold at night. It's even capable of freezing Exalt Realm cultivators to death. So, let's speed up and find a safe place to prepare to spend the night. Freeze Exalt Realm cultivators to death." Everyone's eyelids twitched when they heard that, and they gasped. How strong were Exalt Realm cultivators? They were powerhouses, yet such figures could actually be frozen to death? One could imagine how terrifying the temperature was. Sure enough, as if to prove Elder Song's words, a cold wind blew in the surroundings not long after. A bone-piercing chill quickly spread, and the sand beneath their feet turned from boiling hot to icy cold. Everyone couldn't help but quicken their pace when they sensed the chill. At this moment, a cry of surprise was suddenly heard. "Damn, what's that?" A disciple pointed at the sky in the distance and shouted. There was even a trace of fear in his voice. Everyone raised their heads and looked over when they heard that. Then, they were all dumbstruck and stunned on the spot. Lin Xian was similarly shocked, and his heart thumped wildly. However, he had seen too many strange things, so even though he was shocked, he wasn't stunned. However, his expression was extremely unsightly because a huge shadow had appeared on the horizon in the distance. It was like a dark cloud. However, relying on his outstanding soul power, Lin Xian knew that it wasn't a dark cloud at all. That was because the surface of the enormous black shadow was covered with scales. Clearly, it was a monstrous beast. However, this made him even more shocked. Because only a part of its body was revealed, yet it covered half the sky. Exactly how big was its hand? The mysterious demonic beast's huge body circled in the sky like a dark cloud, and it pressed down on everyone to the point that they couldn't breathe. Then, two rays of light that were like the sun appeared. Everyone knew that those were the eyes of the huge demonic beast. "Everyone, be careful. Don't move," Elder Song reminded coldly. Even though he was a sixth heavenly layer powerhouse, he was still terrified when facing such a huge demonic beast because its aura was too terrifying. Chapter 1071. "Everyone, be careful. Don't move," Elder Song reminded them coldly. Even though he was a powerhouse in the sixth heaven, he was still frightened by the enormous demonic beast because its aura was too terrifying. It was like a demonic mountain that one could only look up at. Then, everyone saw that behind the huge eye, a head gradually appeared. The head was indescribable because it was too huge. Moreover, under everyone's shocked gazes, the head opened its mouth. Subsequently, a deep voice was heard. It seemed to have come from the 9 heavens and 10 earths, and it was deafening. All of a sudden, Lin Xian was shocked, and a bad premonition arose in his heart. Sure enough, at the next moment, something that shocked everyone happened. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the huge head opened its bloody mouth. Subsequently, it spat out a pillar of water. It was as if the water of the Milky Way had descended from the sky. Although it was called a pillar of water, it was actually no different from an ocean. In an instant, it filled the entire sky and quickly swept towards Lin Xian and the others. The aura was too terrifying because it was not ordinary seawater. It contained a primitive aura. "Quickly defend!" Elder Song shouted. Subsequently, his spiritual power erupted and formed a huge ball of light that enveloped his body. Everyone was stunned. Soon after, they came to their senses and quickly defended their bodies with all their might. It could not be helped because they could not escape at all because they were surrounded by seawater. Hence, they could only defend passively. Lin Xian also took a deep breath. A layer of bright red armor covered his body. On it, there was a bright red lotus that swayed rapidly. Accompanying it was a mysterious aura. Faced with unknown danger, Lin Xian immediately activated the red lotus armor to protect his entire body. At the side, the dark red dragon also had a grave expression. However, it did not take any defensive measures because it was a king to begin with. Even though its cultivation level had dropped, its body was different from a venerable one's and could be said to be extremely tough. The seawater was terrifying, but it could not hurt it at all. Even so, he still looked around with a solemn expression. At the next moment, everyone was enveloped by endless seawater. Not only that, but the entire area was also covered by seawater. In an instant, it turned into a boundless ocean. Lin Xian and the others continued to sink, but fortunately, they were not injured. The Crimson Dragon kept spitting out seawater. Damn, Ben Huang finally knows why this place is called the Mirage Sea. Lin Xian was also speechless, and rolled his eyes. How could he have known that such a change would occur in this place? As expected of a mystic realm passed down from ancient times, it was indeed mysterious and unpredictable. Soon, he landed at the bottom of the sea with the others. At this moment, the bottom of the sea had already changed. Due to the appearance of the seawater, the original desert had already disappeared and was replaced by a real sea. At this moment, they also seemed to be at the bottom of the sea. However, this wasn't all because undercurrents were also surging under the sea, and the waves were surging violently. Therefore, everyone could only circulate their spirit energy with all their might and firmly hold onto the ground like a boulder. Otherwise, they would be swept away by the endless seawater. Who knew where they would be swept to? Therefore, an extremely strange scene appeared. Lin Xian and the others were like statues, bitterly persevering at the bottom of the sea. Elder Song's expression was also solemn. As expected of the Mirage Sea, it was indeed as dangerous as the legends said. Everyone was also speechless. The sky was fine. Where did such a huge demonic beast come from and spit out so much seawater? However, this made them even more alarmed because in this remote sky mystic realm, there might be a huge threat at any time. The undercurrents underground became more and more rapid, and finally, like darkness, they drowned everyone. After an unknown period of time, the undercurrents gradually disappeared, and the surrounding light returned to normal. Lin Xian also heaved a sigh of relief. He looked around and then opened his mouth wide. This was because the current underwater world was completely different from when they had just come up. When they had just come down, there were undercurrents, a land of death, but now it was different. The surrounding seawater was calm. There were countless creatures around, and what was even more shocking was that there were black shadows in front of them that were like huge mountains. However, Lin Xian's soul power was outstanding, and he could clearly sense that it was not an underwater volcano, but a building. Underwater buildings, and it was a stretch. This was simply too amazing. At this moment, not only Lin Xian, but the seniors also noticed the abnormality. They all frowned and looked ahead cautiously. Not long after, the young disciples also noticed it, and someone exclaimed, "Oh my God, an underwater world! Could this be the Dragon Palace? The Dragon Palace!" Hearing this, everyone's hearts trembled. At this moment, someone exclaimed, "The Dragon Palace? That's a land of treasures. Could this really be a land of treasures?" Hearing this, everyone was excited. Their main purpose in coming to this remote sky mystic realm was to find treasures. Now, there was an unknown land of treasures in front of them. How could they not be excited? Lin Xian was also very surprised because he did feel a shocking energy fluctuation from the buildings in front of him. However, he did not know whether it was a treasure or not. "Elder Song, what should we do?" The group of disciples looked at the seniors with anticipation. Elder Song and the other elders quickly discussed among themselves. Then, they nodded and decided to go and investigate. Suddenly, everyone cheered and quickly looked around. Then, they carefully moved forward. Gradually, everyone got closer to the underground building, then they exclaimed. It had to be said that the building was too majestic. It was like an underwater palace, flashing with colorful lights. On the wall, there were carvings of dragons, as if they were real dragons. Could this really be the Dragon Palace? Seeing this, many people swallowed their saliva. Most of the doors here were closed. Could there be some kind of restriction? Li Yunfei frowned and said. He had tried a few times and found that the doors could not be opened at all. The other disciples did not believe it and tried a few times, but it was to no avail. Lin Xian frowned slightly, then quickly probed with his soul power. With his soul power that was close to that of a grade 7 alchemist, he quickly probed and found something. I found a place where there are no restrictions. Follow me, Lin Xian said. Immediately, the crowd revealed excited expressions. Even those of the older generation quickly looked over. Then, under Lin Xian's lead, everyone came to a crystal door. To their joy, the door was not closed. Let's go in and take a look. That was everyone's thought. Chapter 1072. In the end, everyone discussed and decided to have a few older generation figures lead the way while the younger disciples followed behind. This was mainly done because the older generation figures were knowledgeable and powerful, so they could avoid danger to the greatest extent. Soon, the crowd passed through the opened crystal door and walked in. After entering, everyone exclaimed again because this place was more like an immortal palace. All kinds of objects were exquisite and shining, as if it was a real dragon palace. Everyone walked in a long passage, and the walls on both sides were engraved with powerful sea beasts. Although they were only stone carvings, everyone could still feel a desolate aura. After carefully walking through the long passage, everyone stopped. Because in front of them was a real building complex. All kinds of pavilions, and plazas were arranged in picturesque disorder. It was like a real city, but it was an underwater city. However, the only strange thing was that although this place was no different from a city, there were no signs of life. It was as if it was a dead city. When everyone arrived at the real underwater city, they looked at everything around them and fell into deep shock. At this moment, Duguoutian said in a deep voice, Elder Song, I seem to feel a weak spiritual power fluctuation. Hearing this, the older generation figures also frowned because Duguoutian could be said to be the strongest among the younger generation. Since he said that there was a fluctuation, it should be true. Soon, under Duguoutian's reminder, the others also quickly sensed it. Elder Song nodded slightly. Yes, there is indeed a spiritual power fluctuation. Lin Xian also sensed it, then raised his eyebrows because not only did he sense a spiritual power fluctuation, but he also sensed another kind of fluctuation. He couldn't blame the others for not sensing it because among these people, Lin Xian's soul force was probably the strongest. The Crimson Dragon also revealed a suspicious look. Obviously, he also noticed the abnormality. Boy, be careful. I keep feeling that something is wrong here. Hearing this, Lin Xian nodded slightly and secretly became vigilant. Then, everyone set off. Their goal was, of course, the direction of the spiritual power fluctuation. They speculated that the spiritual power fluctuation was very likely to be from a treasure. Soon, Lin Xian and the others set off again. This time, the older generation led the way while the younger disciples followed behind. However, compared to the previous passage, everyone's speed was obviously faster. However, just as they passed through a pavilion, countless blue bubbles suddenly appeared around them. The surrounding seawater seemed to be boiling as it trembled violently. Not good, retreat quickly! Up ahead, Elder Song suddenly shouted anxiously. Following this voice, countless black shadows suddenly appeared from all directions. Like black lightning, they quickly pierced towards the crowd. Fortunately, Lin Xian and the others were not ordinary people. Their reactions were fast enough and they quickly retreated. Clang! Clang! Clanging sounds came from the front. Those black shadows all pierced into the ground, making metallic sounds. Soon after, everyone discovered that the lightning-like black shadows were none other than spears. Those long hairs were more than 10 feet long, and they were dark orchids. Strange patterns were carved on them, and there was a layer of light flowing rapidly on them. One look and one could tell that they were filled with a ferocious aura. Seeing these blue spears, everyone's face darkened. Judging from the aura on them, these spears could definitely pose a threat to them. On the other hand, Lin Xian frowned. This was because he had sensed a similar aura from before. It seemed that the mysterious energy fluctuation was the unknown threat in front of them. Sure enough, in the next moment, countless figures rushed from all directions. They held azure spears in their hands, and their auras were ferocious. Without a doubt, those sneak attacks from before were launched by them. However, when the crowd saw those people, they were all stunned because they weren't people. They had the bodies of humans, but they had the heads of prawns. Moreover, their arms were covered with scales. They looked extremely strange. Damn, are they prawn soldiers? A few disciples' eyes widened, and they almost bit off their tongues. Elder Song quickly reminded them. Be careful, these monsters are very strong. Before he finished his reminder, the prawn soldiers on the opposite side launched a fierce attack. All of them gave off blue devil chi as they held ice-cold spears and quickly rushed over. These prawn soldiers were most likely from the devil race, and they lived in the sea all year round, so they were very familiar with the environment here and were very agile. However, the disciples from the academy were different. After all, they were fighting underwater, and the seawater was not ordinary seawater. It also contained a terrifying desolate aura. As such, their combat strength was weaker than on the ground. As such, as soon as they started to fight, some disciples were sent flying. Luckily, there were many seniors in the group. They decisively attacked and displayed their powerful combat strength, resisting the prawn soldiers. However, there was a limit to the seniors. Soon, a disciple was unable to dodge and was pierced by a blue spear, nailing him to the ground. Blood flowed out, dyeing the seawater red. The battle was extremely intense, but it ended quickly. After killing a few disciples, the prawn soldiers quickly swam away and hid in the buildings in the distance. Seeing this, everyone's faces became gloomy. As soon as they entered the Crystal Palace, they had been ambushed, and some people had even lost their lives. This was not a good sign for them. Everyone, be careful. This place is more dangerous than we thought. Elder Song sighed. He had entered the remote sky mystery realm twice, so he was very open-minded about life and death. It should be known that the remote sky mystery realm was not a friendly place, and death was common. They were already very lucky that only a few people had died in this battle. However, it was obvious that this was only the first wave of attack. Who knew if the prawn soldiers hiding in the dark would attack again? Lin Xian also looked solemn. Although the battle was short, and he had killed a few prawn soldiers, he was unable to turn the situation around. Luckily, they had more people on their side. If they really fought with their lives on the line, they would definitely be able to kill the prawn soldiers. Next, under the lead of Elder Song and the rest, everyone set off again. However, not long after, they encountered the prawn soldiers again. This time, the number of prawn soldiers was much more than before. It was almost the same as the number of disciples from Senmu College. Moreover, what shocked them even more was that these prawn soldiers were not only holding ice-cold blue spears, but they were also wearing aquamarine armor. They were like an army, with a piercing murderous aura. A group of prawn soldiers surrounded Lin Xian and the rest, pointing their blue spears at them. Chapter 1073. At this moment, an even larger shrimp soldier walked over from afar. He was wearing azure armor with a blue cloak behind him. He looked mighty and extraordinary, but the giant prawn head added a bit of strangeness to him. The shrimp soldier who looked like a leader walked forward and looked coldly in front of him. Then, he mumbled something. However, it was not human language, so no one could understand him. Lin Xian frowned. He did not know this language either. However, the crimson dragon next to him jumped up. F***ck, how dare you be so arrogant in front of Ben Wang? You must be tired of living. You can understand? A disciple asked. They were already used to the crimson dragon. Lin Xian looked over as well. Since you can understand, why don't you explain it to me? Hearing Lin Xian's words, Rosalind said angrily. Damn it, a bunch of shrimp soldiers. How dare they threaten us and say that this place belongs to them? They want us to hand over our treasures and storage rings, or they'll kill us. Hearing this, everyone's faces darkened. Rosalind was also furious. F***CK, you're the first ones who dared to rob Ben Wang. I'll let you know the consequences of robbing Ben Wang. The Crimson Dragon roared angrily. The Senmu College disciples were also furious. They glared at the shrimp soldiers. A bunch of shrimp soldiers dared to rob them. How audacious! They were not here to be bullied. They were here to find treasures. Tell them to get lost, or they'll be killed, Elder Song said in a low voice. Then, the Crimson Dragon spoke a bunch of gibberish. Obviously, it passed on everyone's words to the shrimp soldiers. After hearing this, the shrimp soldiers were enraged. They roared quickly. The leader of the shrimp soldiers also looked ferocious. The blue demon aura on his body kept rolling. Obviously, the Crimson Dragon's words had angered him. In the next moment, he raised the blue spear in his hand and stabbed it at Lin Xian and the others. Strange sounds came from his mouth. F***CK, they're going to attack! The Crimson Dragon stomped its feet in anger. Sure enough, the surrounding shrimp soldiers quickly brandished the spears in their hands, forming rays of blue light that connected together like a wave, surging towards the group. The shrimp soldier leader also made his move. His terrifying strength shook the surroundings, and it wasn't any weaker than the older generations. Humph! Within the crowd, Dugu Aotian coldly snorted. His tall figure took a step forward. He quickly pulled out the long sword on his back and slashed forward. This sword was extremely sharp. It sliced apart the entire seawater, creating a vacuum. Pun! Soon, their attacks collided, and a terrifying energy burst forth. The seawater was torn apart, and the surrounding buildings exploded, creating countless powerful shockwaves that pushed back the Senmu College disciples and the shrimp soldiers. When they saw this scene, everyone was shocked and their hearts trembled. They never thought that the shrimp soldier leader would be so powerful, to actually be able to contend against De Gaotian. It could be said that the scene before them had exceeded their expectations. However, just as these people were in a daze, the surrounding shrimp soldiers rushed over again and stabbed at the Senmu College disciples. This was the underwater world, and these shrimp soldiers had a huge advantage at the bottom of the sea. However, the people from Senmu College were not to be trifled with. They were all geniuses and elites from various places, and their combat strength was not something that ordinary venerables could compare to. Therefore, the two sides collided, and a great battle broke out once again. Elder Song roared angrily. The spiritual power in his body erupted, forming a huge airwave that rumbled in all directions. At the same time, he threw a punch and directly blew up a group of shrimp soldiers. At this moment, the older generation powerhouse was finally angry. Lin Xian also drew his Lone Star sword and quickly waved it. A sword chi surged and cut open the shrimp soldiers in front of him. The Crimson Dragon roared angrily. A mere shrimp soldier dared to attack him. He was courting death. He could not tolerate it, so he waved his dragon claws and quickly formed inscriptions in the air, forming a formation that enveloped the surroundings. Then, the surrounding shrimp soldiers began to hallucinate, and even began to kill each other. Although the Crimson Dragon had not recovered his strength, the power of his formation was very strange and could not be underestimated. They are demonic beasts, and the suppression of their levels is very deep. Therefore, if you want to subdue these shrimp soldiers, you have to capture the shrimp soldier leader first. The Crimson Dragon knew the demonic beasts very well, so he said loudly. Hearing this, the long sword in Dugu Aotian's hand became even sharper, and he even wanted to suppress the shrimp soldier leader. At this moment, Elder Song also let out a long roar. With a monstrous power, he condensed a huge palm of light in the air and grabbed at the shrimp soldier leader. The palm's momentum was extraordinary and terrifying. It directly enveloped the shrimp soldier leader. Sensing this aura, the shrimp soldier leader's expression changed drastically. In the end, it could not care less and turned to flee. Like a ray of blue light, the shrimp soldier leader instantly disappeared on the spot and fled into the distance. The huge palm of light in the sky fell, overturning the entire seabed. However, in the end, the shrimp soldier leader still escaped. When the ordinary shrimp soldiers saw this scene, they went crazy. They turned into blue lights and fled into the distance. Damn little shrimps, you're quite fast at escaping. If you have the ability, come and fight with Ben Huang for another 300 rounds. The Crimson Dragon looked at the fleeing figures and was very unhappy. However, the disciples of Senma College heaved a sigh of relief because these shrimp soldiers were really ferocious and tough. They were not weaker than them. Fortunately, the shrimp soldiers had escaped. Otherwise, it would have been another fierce battle. However, it wasn't like they didn't get anything out of it. Lin Xian managed to capture 2 shrimp soldiers. When the shrimp soldiers were escaping, he quickly used the dragon catcher hand and caught the 2 shrimp soldiers. Then, his eyes focused and his soul quickly probed into the shrimp soldiers' minds to search their souls. Not long after, the 2 shrimp soldiers foamed at the mouth and fell to the ground, twitching non-stop. Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he waved his hand and took out a scroll. He quickly opened it and pasted it on his forehead. His soul power gushed out crazily and imprinted all the information he had previously scouted onto it. Everyone looked over and waited patiently. They knew that Lin Xian was an alchemist, and his soul power was very strong. Therefore, they had a lot of information about Lin Xian. Sure enough, not long after, Lin Xian opened his eyes again and the scroll in his hand floated to everyone. Everyone stretched their necks and quickly looked over. They saw a map drawn on the scroll. Seeing the densely packed buildings and passages, everyone exclaimed. The buildings were too vast. If they did not have a map, they would not be able to walk out in a short period of time. Fortunately, Lin Xian knew how to search souls and obtained a map. This would be much more convenient for their future actions. The building in the center should be the Dragon Palace in the shrimp soldiers' minds. I even searched their souls and found out that the Dragon Palace had long existed in their minds. Moreover, there is something similar to an inheritance inside that can increase the shrimp soldiers' strength. It is said that in the past, some of the shrimp soldiers had entered the Dragon Palace and obtained great fortune. Lin Xian said slowly. He had obtained all this information from the 2 shrimp soldiers after searching through their minds. Dragon Palace? There really is a Dragon Palace. Isn't that something from legends? Many disciples exclaimed. Chapter 1074. On the other hand, Elder Song and the other elders frowned slightly. Lin Xian sighed. I don't know if it's the legendary Dragon Palace, but I know from the shrimp soldiers' minds that the Dragon Palace is their holy land. Also, the shrimp soldier clan is not the only one in this sea. There are other sea demons. For example, the giant crab tribe, the Xian turtle tribe, and so on. Lin Xian's words made everyone frown because they realized that the sea was more dangerous than they had imagined. Just the shrimp soldier clan alone was enough to put them in danger. Who knew what the other clans would be like? Needless to say, they were definitely not weaker than the shrimp soldiers. However, it was impossible for everyone to give up. After all, the building in the middle was called the Dragon Palace. Although they did not know if it was related to the legendary Dragon Palace, the place that the shrimp soldiers worshipped was definitely not simple. Moreover, everyone guessed that the spiritual energy fluctuation they sensed might have come from the Dragon Palace. After a heated discussion, everyone decided to go and take a look. They came here to look for opportunities, and opportunities usually contained great danger. They knew this better than anyone else. Therefore, when they heard the news about the Dragon Palace, they did not hesitate but nodded firmly, and decided to go. Lin Xian naturally had no objections. He was also very curious about the so-called Dragon Palace. Even if these people did not go, he would find an excuse to go alone. However, it seemed that he did not need to waste so much effort. It was better to follow the team. With the result, the group did not delay any longer and hurried on. Due to Elder Song and the other seniors' strong combat power, the surrounding shrimp soldiers did not come up for a while. It seemed that these shrimp soldiers were also intelligent. They knew how to bully the weak and fear the strong. When they met a strong human, they did not dare to attack. Many seniors discussed quickly. They felt that the rules of the underwater world were no different from the rules on land. After quickly passing through the shrimp soldiers' area, everyone breathed a sigh of relief and hurried on. At this moment, there was a low vibration in front of them, and there was a surging spiritual energy fluctuation. "There's a fight!" Many disciples were shocked. As for the people of the older generation, they frowned because they sensed that the sharp fluctuation was the aura of a human. "Someone walked in front of us!" The expressions of the elders turned ugly. "Could it be someone from another sect? You want to get close to the Dragon Palace? That should be it. Let's go quickly. We can't let them succeed." The group of people was very anxious and could not help but speed up. Lin Xian also sent out his soul force, trying to sense the situation ahead. If they continued forward, they would leave the shrimp soldiers' territory and enter the giant crab tribe. The giant crab tribe was even more terrifying than the shrimp tribe. They were incomparably huge and powerful, as if they were the overlords of the sea. At this moment, the Cancer tribe was fighting with the human team. Furthermore, from the looks of it, the battle was extremely intense. The gigantic crab's pincers danced in the air as it launched a fierce attack at the humans. The human team was also very strange. Although they had human bodies, there were two illusory bird heads on both sides of their shoulders. They looked very ferocious. If someone was here, they would definitely scream, because this group of humans was from the Divine Bird Palace. However, these people from the Divine Bird Palace were obviously met with great resistance. Although they were also demons, they were not good at attacking underwater. Therefore, at this moment, in the face of the Cancer tribe's attack, they could only passively defend and could not cause any destructive damage to the other party. Just as the Divine Bird Palace and the Cancer tribe were engaged in a fierce battle, the team from Senmu College quickly arrived. "Oh, it's the people from the Divine Bird Palace." Elder Song and the others looked forward and squinted their eyes. At the same time, they were slightly relieved. Although the Divine Bird Palace was powerful, it was only a rank 6 sect. It was still slightly inferior to the House of Kings. On the other hand, they were a true king faction. Therefore, if the two sides were to fight for the Dragon Palace, they would have a greater chance of winning. On the other hand, Lin Xian frowned as he looked at those figures. To be honest, he did not have a good impression of the people from the Divine Bird Palace. Previously, both sides were sworn enemies. Moreover, not long ago, in Wind-Seeking City, the people from the Divine Bird Palace had slandered him. It could be said that both sides were like fire and water. If he met them alone, Lin Xian would definitely not let them go. However, now that he was with the people from Senmu College, of course, he could not do anything out of line. However, he still snorted coldly. The people from the Divine Bird Palace naturally saw the people from Senmu College. At the same time, they also saw Lin Xian. However, this was obviously not the time to hold a grudge. Soon, an elder from the Divine Bird Palace shouted, "So it's the people from Senmu College. You've come at the right time. Quickly join forces with us and defeat the Cancer tribe." They could not fully utilize their advantages underwater, so facing the Cancer tribe was a headache. However, they did not expect to meet the people from Senmu College. Of course, they had to call for help and fight together. As for seizing the Dragon Palace, they would wait until they defeated the Cancer tribe and were safe. Elder Song and a few other elders quickly discussed and finally decided to lend a hand. This was because they could not fully utilize their combat power underwater. Moreover, from the scene just now, the Cancer tribe was more difficult to deal with than the Shrimp tribe. They were more terrifying. Therefore, they decided to join forces with the people from the Divine Bird Palace. Speaking of which, Senmu College and the Divine Bird Palace were also not easy to deal with. This was because in the matter of the Palace of Aries, the people from Divine Bird Palace supported the Deputy Palace Master. On the other hand, the people from Senmu College supported the real Palace Master of the Palace of Aries. Therefore, the two sides could be said to be opposing sides. However, they were now in the underwater world. In the face of such danger, they could not care less. They could only join forces first. Soon, Elder Song and the others led the disciples from Senma College upstairs. However, this time, Lin Xian did not rush up quickly. Instead, his speed was very slow. He was even at the back of the group for a while. He would not join forces with the people from the Divine Bird Palace. Although he did not attack them now, it did not mean that Lin Xian would help them. Following behind the group, Lin Xian did not care. At the same time, he spread out his soul power and quickly scanned the surroundings. The Crimson Dragon also followed beside him. He did not have a good impression of the three-headed birds either. Oh! The little snow monkey also jumped out. It looked around in a daze with its big, gem-like eyes. In the next moment, it sat on Lin Xian's shoulder and began to take out spiritual fruits to eat. Lin Xian's side was relaxed, but the situation in front was not. The Cancer tribe was very powerful. Therefore, both sides were going all out. The elders from Senma College quickly waved the long swords in their hands. A blade light flashed and slashed forward. Chapter 1075. This slash was very sharp, and the seniors were very experienced. Every slash would hit the vital points of the giant scorpion tribe. They would either severely injure the giant scorpion tribe or kill it directly. The confidence of the Divine Bird Palace was greatly boosted. One of the elders was dressed in purple, and even his hair was purple. The two bird heads on his shoulders became more solid. At the same time, lightning appeared on his body, making him look like the god of thunder. With a wave of his hand, lightning chains crisscrossed, and the clattering sound spread in the sea. In an instant, the nearby area became a sea of lightning, and countless purple lightning struck in all directions. The two forces joined forces and attacked with all their might. Soon, the giant crab tribe was defeated. This time, the elder of the Divine Bird Palace said loudly, "Everyone, why don't we kill them in one go?" "All right." Elder Song and the others nodded. They had the same idea. This was a great opportunity for the two forces to join forces and exert their strength. Otherwise, it would be difficult for Senma College to pass through the giant crab tribe alone. Seeing that the people of Senma College agreed, the Divine Bird Palace was excited. They quickly said, "The giant crab tribe was very strong and difficult to deal with. However, their speed was not very fast. We should charge with all our strength and leave them far behind. We just need to leave this place quickly." Hearing this, the elders and the others nodded. They also realized that the giant crab tribe was very strong, but they were much weaker than the shrimp tribe in terms of agility. Therefore, they quickly agreed to this suggestion. The two forces merged and accelerated. The elders opened a path in front, forming a strong fighting force. They killed a bloody path through the giant crab tribe. Behind them, the giant crab tribe roared madly, and their voices shook the sky. However, their huge bodies were greatly hindered by the sea, and their speed was much slower than Lin Xian and the others. Therefore, they could only watch as they left. They could not catch up. After successfully leaving the giant crab tribe's territory, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Many people patted their chests with excitement. They were one step closer to the Dragon Palace. Lin Xian followed behind the team without any expression. According to his soul power, there were other sea demons behind the Cancer tribe. It wouldn't be easy for them to get close to the Dragon Palace. However, at this time, the Crimson Dragon was very excited. "Brat, do you feel it? This power is very strong." Lin Xian nodded. Indeed, he felt an obscure and powerful force coming from the front. Needless to say, it came from the Dragon Palace. At this moment, Zero spoke for the first time. "What a powerful force!" When Lin Xian heard this, he raised his eyebrows and asked, "Zero, do you need this power?" "I don't need it for now, but I think it's better to give it to you. Don't worry, I will fully support you this time. You're too weak right now. You can't leave this world. you have to quickly increase your strength and reach Danzong as soon as possible. With Zero's assurance, Lin Xian's lips curled into a smile. He knew that if both sides were to fight later, his chances of winning were higher. One had to know that Zero could control the Thousand Beast Cauldron, which was an Earth-rank treasure. Although it could only release a little of its power, it was not something an ordinary warrior could handle. Just as Lin Xian and Zero were talking, Elder Song and the Elder of the Divine Bird Palace were also talking quickly. Finally, they decided to set off again. The Xian Turtle tribe is in front. Their defense is even more terrifying than the Cancer tribe. So, try not to get entangled with them. Hearing Elder Song's words, everyone nodded quickly to show that they understood. Then, everyone carefully moved forward and entered the territory of the Xian Turtle tribe. Not long after, they found a Xian Turtle. This Xian Turtle was as tall as a person. It carried a huge turtle shell on its back. It was glowing with a faint green light and was covered with various patterns. When everyone saw this Xian Turtle, their eyes lit up. The two elders and disciples in the front row quickly surrounded the Xian Turtle and beat it up. However, what shocked everyone was that the Xian Turtle's 4 limbs and head shrank, hiding inside the green turtle shell. But it didn't dare to do so. It actually blocked all the attacks. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. Those attacks could tear apart a 4th-level venerable instantly, but this Xian Turtle was able to block them. This was too shocking. Lin Xian was also shocked. He did not expect this Xian Turtle to be so strong. It was really unexpected. If this Xian Turtle's shell was used as armor, it would be extremely hard. In front, the Xian Turtle took advantage of everyone's shock to quickly escape into the distance. Several elders sighed and did not chase after it. However, a disciple of the Divine Bird Palace revealed a ferocious smile and quickly chased after it. He wanted to catch this Xian Turtle and use its shell as a defensive armor. In that case, his defense would be greatly improved, even surpassing a warrior of the same level. However, seeing this scene, the Elder of the Divine Bird Palace's expression changed. He quickly shouted for the disciple to return. The disciple was also stunned, but the greed in his heart made him continue to chase. In front, the Xian Turtle sensed this scene and was very angry. It let out a whimper. Then, it suddenly turned its head, stretched out its head, and bit the Divine Bird Palace disciple's neck. Crack! Blood burst out, dyeing the sea red, and a head fell down. The Xian Turtle let out another whimper and swam into the distance. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked and their scalps went numb. They did not expect the opponent's attack to be so terrifying. Damn it, their defense was abnormal, and their attack was so terrifying. These Xian Turtles were simply invincible. Indeed, they were too difficult to deal with. They were even more terrifying than those giant crabs. No wonder they were so close to the Dragon Palace. They were indeed a powerful race. By now, everyone had realized that this area had a strict hierarchy. The closer the race was to the Dragon Palace, the more powerful they were. However, no matter how powerful they were, it could not stop them from entering the Dragon Palace. Therefore, they once again regrouped and set off forward. Not long after, they encountered another Xian Turtle and a great battle broke out. Just like that, everyone moved forward little by little. Lin Xian still stayed at the back and did not make a move. That was because with his powerful soul power, he sensed that a powerful Xian Turtle was rushing over. Sure enough, not long after, the seawater in front of them fluctuated and formed an undercurrent that gathered in their direction. A terrifying and powerful force quickly surged over. This Xian Turtle was very terrifying. Its body was not very big, only about 2 meters, but the demonic aura on its body was monstrous. It had long surpassed the 4th layer venerable, and was even close to a 6th layer venerable. Obviously, its strength had reached the level of a 5th layer venerable 5-star fiend general. However, Elder Song and the others present had solemn expressions. Chapter 1076. Although they were 6th heaven venerables, they did not dare to be careless at this moment because the other party's defense was too strong. Even they might not be able to break through it. This wasn't good news for them. Moreover, not only was there this huge divine turtle around, but there were also other black turtles that were quickly gathering. An elder of the bird craftsman palace attacked the huge black turtle. The black turtle leader turned around and faced the crowd with its huge turtle shell. Soon, the beam of light hit the turtle shell. Otherwise, it would have spat out strange syllables from its mouth. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the 2-meter-tall tortoise shell once again emitted a terrifying light. The patterns on it became clearer and clearer, emitting a strange power. Bang! The light palm from the elder of the divine bird palace was quickly reflected back. Moreover, the power was even stronger than before. The elder of the divine bird palace was sent flying by the reflected light palm and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Seeing this scene, everyone was completely stunned. What was going on? They had never seen anything like this before. In the end, a disciple screamed, F***CK, it's reflected. This guy can actually reflect it. Hearing this, everyone's expressions turned ugly. They did not expect the black turtle leader to have such a unique skill. It could actually reflect their attacks. A few elders did not believe it, and quickly tried to test it. In the end, their attacks were all reflected by the huge turtle shell. Seeing this, everyone's expressions turned gloomy. They realized that they could not do anything to this powerful black turtle. However, they also had an advantage. Their only advantage was that they had more people. As long as they surrounded the black turtle and attacked it head-on, it would be fine. Elder Song and the elders of the Divine Bird Palace discussed and decided to attack. However, before they could do anything, a terrifying and deep voice suddenly came from the depths of the sea. Accompanying it was an aura that made one's heart tremble. One of them was a monstrous demonic aura, as if a peerless demon with horns had awakened. Moreover, what shocked everyone was that the demonic aura carried the same aura as the black turtles in front of them. Needless to say, it was a powerhouse of the Xian Turtle clan. The other one was a human powerhouse. Because the sharp aura was very pure, it was extremely terrifying. It seemed to be stronger than Elder Song and the others. This aura was very close to a seventh heaven venerable. Many people exclaimed when they sensed the situation in front of them. Elder Song and the others also frowned. They didn't expect such a strong expert to appear in front of them. This was an existence that was even more powerful than them. Moreover, what made them even more worried was that they didn't know which power this person belonged to. Lin Xian also frowned because he didn't expect such a powerful figure to appear at this time. Another thing was that he didn't expect the Xian Turtle clan to have such a terrifying expert. Fortunately, these two terrifying figures seemed to be fighting at this moment. The black tortoise leader, who was more than 2 meters tall, heard this voice and his expression changed drastically. He let out a long howl and quickly swam away with the surrounding black tortoises, as if he was going to provide support. Seeing the retreating figure, the elders of Senmu College and Divine Bird Palace did not move. This was because they couldn't take down these black tortoises in a short period of time. Moreover, the two auras in front of them were too terrifying, causing his heart to palpitate. However, Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat. He used the blood shadow doppelganger to leave a doppelganger behind, while his real body used the heaven-changing technique to blend into the sea and quickly followed. The Crimson Dragon and the Snow-White Monkey were also with him. Everyone was paying attention to the situation in front of them, and Lin Xian was now at the tail of the group, so no one noticed this anomaly. In front of them, the black tortoise leader turned and disappeared into a building before everyone's eyes. However, just as he turned around, a low dragon's roar suddenly sounded, causing his body to tremble. At the same time, a strong sense of fear rose from the bottom of his heart. This was not the end. Suddenly, his eyes lit up, and a white furry ball appeared. The next moment, he saw a small furry paw slap his face. Then, he fainted. It was as if he was drunk, and he couldn't exert any strength at all. Now, his body couldn't move, and he was dizzy. Even his soul power was sluggish. However, at this moment, a small black cauldron appeared in front of him. All kinds of birds and beasts flew quickly on top of it as if they were real. 10,000 bee sting, soul control! Accompanied by a low and cold voice, a black light shot out from the 10,000 bee sting and entered between the black tortoise leader's eyebrows. Feeling this strange power enter his mind, the black tortoise leader's body trembled. He revealed a ferocious expression, as if he wanted to resist. However, he underestimated this black light. This was the power of the 10,000 life cauldron, an Earth-class artifact. He couldn't resist at all. After a moment of stalemate, he stopped in place with a dull look in his eyes. Seeing this, Lin Xian also let out a sigh of relief. The reason why he took action was because he learned about the 10,000 bee sting from his conversation with Zero. It wasn't just a cauldron for alchemy. It had an even more magical effect. That was beast control. After Zero's explanation, Lin Xian finally understood why this black cauldron was called the 10,000 bee sting. It was because the 10,000 bee sting could control all kinds of powerful beasts in ancient times. That was why it got its name. Lin Xian was the one who unleashed the black light with Zero's help. It was a spell used to control demonic beasts. Of course, it consumed a lot of his soul power. However, seeing the scene before him, he felt that it was all worth it. Kneel! Lin Xian looked at the black tortoise leader in front of him, and said coldly. In the next moment, the black tortoise leader suddenly knelt down very respectfully. Seeing this, Lin Xian smiled. As expected of the 10,000 bee sting. It was really mysterious. All right, get up and do what you wanted to do before. Lin Xian waved and said in a deep voice. In the next moment, the black tortoise leader quickly stood up. His eyes regained clarity. He looked deeply at Lin Xian with infinite respect. Soon, he swam away into the distance. Lin Xian wasn't worried at all. This was because the 10,000 bee sting was very magical. The black light just now was one of its moves, called soul control. All beasts that were under soul control would listen to Lin Xian's orders. Moreover, their actions were the same as before. No one would notice. Therefore, Lin Xian wasn't worried at all. Looking at the departing figure, Lin Xian smiled with satisfaction. Then, he quickly returned to the team with the Crimson Dragon and the snow-white little monkey. After returning silently, Lin Xian recalled his blood-shadow doppelganger and quickly looked around. He found that the surrounding disciples were nervously watching the situation in front of them. No one noticed his abnormality. This allowed him to breathe a sigh of relief. After calming down, he also looked into the distance. Chapter 1077. Terrifying sounds could be heard from time to time in front of them, accompanied by terrifying shockwaves of energy. It was obvious that the two powerful beings were fighting. Suddenly, a furious roar came from the front. Then, everyone saw a mountain-like figure appear quickly. The figure was too terrifying. It was like a huge mountain, and its monstrous demonic aura swept out in all directions. It's an expert from the Xian Turtle clan! Seeing this scene, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Fortunately, they didn't follow them. Otherwise, they would be in danger. The Xian Turtle was too terrifying. None of them could resist it. However, after the huge Xian Turtle figure appeared, another strange sound came from the front. A void sky eye suddenly appeared in the sky. It had a cold expression as it looked down on all living beings. The eye was very illusory and carried an aura that made one's heart palpitate. When the two illusory figures appeared, Elder Song and the others in the distance were immediately shocked. They even stopped in their tracks and looked ahead with serious expressions. Some of the weaker disciples were already trembling. The Xian Turtle clan expert was too terrifying. Its mountain-like body began to move and launch fierce attacks. Every attack could tear apart heaven and earth. It carried a supreme aura as it bombarded the front. Fortunately, they were at the bottom of the sea, and the surrounding seawater could reduce the pressure. Otherwise, just this energy alone would definitely be able to destroy a city. Moreover, it would be a super huge city. However, the human figure was not afraid in the face of such powerful attacks. The void sky flickered above. At the same time, the human figure below was also releasing dazzling light. Relying on this light, everyone realized that the human figure was actually a woman. Although they couldn't see her face clearly, her exquisite figure was clearly visible. The woman waved her jade-like hands and launched a series of profound seals to control the void sky above her. Then, the void sky above her released a silver-white light that slashed forward like a sharp blade. Wherever the silver light passed, the seawater was split open, and a huge vacuum appeared. However, this wasn't shocking because Elder Song and the others could also split open the seawater. What caused them to be truly shocked was that when the silver ray of light struck the enormous black tortoise shell, it actually pierced through it. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. All of them widened their eyes in disbelief. After all, that was the Xian Turtle clan. Moreover, it was an expert from the Xian Turtle clan. The other party's defense was definitely extremely strong. Perhaps even a seventh heaven venerable might not be able to break through it. However, at that moment, his opponent had actually managed to blast open that sturdy turtle shell and injure that expert from the Xian Turtle clan. This was simply inconceivable. Thinking of this, everyone looked at the virtual sky in the sky with terrified expressions. What exactly was that eyeshadow? How could it be so powerful? The Xian Turtle clan's expert roared furiously after being pierced by the light. His voice shook the heavens as he launched a fierce counterattack. Boundless seawater gathered and surged forward like a ferocious water dragon. In an instant, the space in front of him was completely covered. The water dragon roared, bringing with it a world-destroying aura as it rushed forward. This moment was truly too terrifying. However, the human woman only coldly snorted. Her entire body blossomed with dazzling light. Then, she once again activated the void sky in the sky, forming a huge vortex above her. In the next instant, the seawater in the sky was sucked into the vortex and disappeared into the illusory eye. Absorbed. Such a powerful attack was actually absorbed. In the distance, Elder Song and the others were also stunned when they saw this scene. Lin Xian's expression was also grave as he stared intently ahead. This was because the void sky in the sky gave him a very familiar feeling. However, he couldn't recall it at the moment. In front of him, the void sky opened and formed a devouring power that frantically devoured the endless seawater. However, although it could devour most of it, some of it still overflowed and blasted onto the human woman. Instantly, the human woman was forced back a few steps. Damn it! If it weren't for the fact that the void sky consumes so much energy, I would have already killed this bastard, the human woman muttered to herself. This scene had already stunned Elder Song and the others. Such a powerful attack had only forced her back a few steps. She wasn't injured at all. This was simply too inconceivable. Who was this woman? How could she be so powerful at such a young age? Could she be a disciple of a house of kings? But that shouldn't be the case. The martial arts she used were completely different from those of the House of Kings. Elder Song and the others discussed among themselves, their faces filled with confusion. However, Lin Xian was extremely shocked. With his outstanding soul power, he finally saw the other party's appearance clearly. However, after taking a look, he was stunned. This was because he recognized this woman. In fact, he was very familiar with her. This was because this human woman was none other than Zhao Shui, who had left the Xia country with him back then. However, he didn't expect that after not seeing her for such a long time, her strength would increase by leaps and bounds. She had reached an unbelievable level. Moreover, he also recognized the void sky eye. It was a stone eyeball that Zhao Shui had obtained back then. He had studied it before. The shape of the void sky eye was exactly the same as that stone eyeball. This was why he felt that the void sky eye looked so familiar when he saw it earlier. At this moment, Elder Song and the others were about to step forward and provide support. "Friend, do you need help?" Elder Song asked in a clear voice. "No need." Zhao Shui's cold gaze swept over Elder Song and the others. Then, she turned around and continued to fight with the Xian Turtle expert. Then, Zhao Shui waved her jade-like hand and controlled the void sky eye again. It shot out a shocking ray of light that pierced through the Xian turtle expert's body. This time, the ray of light was even more terrifying than before. It directly pierced through the expert's huge body and almost pierced through his heart. The Xian turtle expert was frightened. He didn't dare to fight anymore. His body turned into a ray of light and fled into the distance. Zhao Shui didn't chase after him because the void sky eye consumed a lot of energy. "May I know your name? Which sect are you from?" Elder Song quickly asked as he walked up to them. This was because they were too shocked. They had never heard of someone with such strength at such a young age. "Zhao Shui, from the Void Sky School." Her voice was cold as her gaze swept over Elder Song and the others. Although Zhao Shui was strong, Elder Song and the others weren't weak either. Moreover, there were so many of them that their strength couldn't be ignored. Zhao Shui, De Gaotian, Li Yunfei, and the others whispered, remembering this name. The eyes of the Divine Bird Palace's disciples lit up as they stared at Zhao Shui. They couldn't help it. She was too beautiful. However, they had never heard of the Void Sky School. Behind them, Lin Xian frowned. Chapter 1078. Void Sky School? Hearing this name, everyone was startled. They had never heard of this name on the Martial Heaven continent. Could it be some ancient sect? Everyone guessed. As for Lin Xian, he frowned. His expression was gloomy. Just now, Zhao Shui's gaze had swept over him. However, there was no expression on her face. It was as if she was looking at a stranger. That shocked him. He couldn't believe it. After all, his relationship with Zhao Shui was very good. There was no reason for her to not recognize him. Furthermore, that cold expression didn't seem fake. Damn it, did something happen to Zhao Shui? Did she lose her memories? Lin Xian guessed. He couldn't have mistaken her for someone else. Furthermore, she was also called Zhao Shui, and he was very familiar with that eye technique. Thus, he was certain that this woman was his old friend. However, she didn't recognize him. That meant that something must have happened to her. It was possible that she had lost her memories. No, I have to find an opportunity to ask her. Lin Xian took a deep breath. He didn't have many friends, and Zhao Shui was undoubtedly one of them. He didn't recklessly go up. He decided to observe for a while longer and find an opportunity to ask her. Up ahead, as everyone was discussing, Zhao Shui turned around and flew inside. Everyone looked at each other. Then they clenched their teeth and followed her. Not long after, they revealed looks of shock because there was a palace right before them. This palace was extremely grand, far surpassing the surrounding buildings. There were 2 huge black tortoise statues on both sides of the palace. They seemed real, and they gave off an ancient aura. Zhao Shui stood in front of the palace, frowning. She coldly said to the people behind her, "Everything in this palace is mine. You can do whatever you want with the rest." Her voice was cold and even contained a trace of dominance. Everyone was silent. However, their gazes were fiery as they stared ahead. However, no one dared to go up. Elder Song and the others' eyes flashed. In the end, they clenched their teeth and didn't go up. The void sky eye that this woman had used was too terrifying. None of them were completely confident in being able to receive that void sky eye. Furthermore, the expert of the Xian turtle race had been chased away by this woman. Thus, this palace should belong to her. Based on the above 2 points, Elder Song and the people of Divine Bird Palace did not make a move. However, there was more than one palace here. Therefore, everyone was only envious for a moment before dispersing in all directions. Although they couldn't get the best one, they wouldn't let go of the other treasures. The Xian Turtle clan was very powerful and was very close to the Dragon Palace. There might be some treasures hidden here. Lin Xian smiled when he saw that everyone was going to search for treasures. In terms of strength, he was not the strongest here. However, in terms of control over the Xian Turtle clan, no one could compare to him. Although he was the same as the others and had never been here before, not long ago, he controlled a black tortoise. Moreover, it was a leader-level black tortoise. Based on the black tortoise leader's understanding of this place, it was definitely in control. Therefore, Lin Xian was not worried about the treasure hunt at all. Secretly controlling the 10,000 bee sting, Lin Xian contacted the black tortoise leader he controlled. Soon, through the black tortoise leader, he learned of a secret treasure hunting spot. With a flash, Lin Xian took the crimson dragon and the snow-white little monkey and quickly flew into the distance. After passing through layers of pavilions and buildings, he saw the black tortoise leader that was being controlled. Under the guidance of the black tortoise leader, Lin Xian entered a 6-story pavilion. This pavilion was octagonal in shape, like a pagoda. It stood there, and on the first floor, there were 6 black tortoise guards. In the future, this place would be an important place for the Xian turtle clan. However, with the black tortoise leader, the 6 black tortoises were quickly sent away. Without the guards guarding the door, Lin Xian moved quickly. He turned into a sword ray and rushed in. There were many restrictions on the way, but there was no need for the crimson dragon to do anything. He controlled the black tortoise leader and quickly broke them all. After entering, Lin Xian's eyes lit up because he smelled an extremely rich spiritual medicine. Damn, what a rich aroma! The crimson dragon's saliva flowed out. The snow-white little monkey also cheered. Its big eyes squinted into a crescent shape. Its body flashed and turned into a white light, flying into the distance. Damn, leave some for me! Lin Xian did not dare to tarry when he saw the crazed looks on the two of them. He quickly executed his movement skill and dashed forward. Pun! The door of a secret room was opened. This was a medicine garden. It was about 2 acres, but it was filled with all kinds of spiritual medicine. Light flowed on top of it, emitting an extremely rich aroma. After seeing it, Lin Xian sucked in a breath of cold air. These were all precious spiritual medicine. They were absolutely rare, and many of them were extinct in the outside world. I'm rich, I'm rich! Lin Xian cheered. As an alchemist, he was even more interested in spiritual medicine. With these top-grade spiritual medicine, he could refine all kinds of precious pills. What are you looking at? Hurry up! The crimson dragon went crazy. Its saliva flowed out. On the other side, the snow-white little monkey whined and moved quickly. Lin Xian did not dare to delay. In order to increase his speed, he even used the thunderstorm wings. Together with the illusory demon steps, his speed reached the extreme. However, he did not collect all of them. Instead, he collected the best ones. Every time he moved, it was an extremely precious spiritual medicine. Purple thunder flower. I just happened to need it. Whirlpool flower. Golden thread grass. Lin Xian's heart bloomed with joy. Most of the spiritual medicine here were what he needed. One had to know that he had countless pill recipes, among which there was no lack of rare ancient pill recipes. However, although he had pill recipes, he did not have any spiritual medicine. In other words, he could only watch. However, he was no longer a child. These spiritual medicine in front of him were all top-grade spiritual medicine. They could help him refine countless precious pills. Perhaps there were other treasures in the huge palace, but for Lin Xian, this was the best. In the medicine garden, Lin Xian's body flashed quickly and collected the spiritual medicine. Because there was no restriction, the fragrance of the medicine drifted out and immediately attracted a few martial artists nearby. Near the pavilion, there were a few disciples of the Divine Bird Palace. They investigated for a while but did not find anything special. Originally, they wanted to leave. However, suddenly, a fragrance drifted over. After smelling it, the disciples suddenly widened their eyes. It smells so good. This is a spiritual medicine. Yes, and it's not an ordinary spiritual medicine. It's definitely a top-grade spiritual medicine. The disciples looked at each other and saw the passion in each other's eyes. Let's go and have a look. Haha, we're rich this time. We must get ahead of everyone. The disciples of the Divine Bird Palace moved quickly. Chapter 1079. Elixir. This is a supreme grade elixir. The disciples of the Divine Bird Palace were pleasantly surprised when they discovered the situation. Let's move quickly. We have to occupy this place as soon as possible. We can't let others find us, especially those from Senmu College. The few of them were excited. They chased after the aura and flew quickly. Soon, they arrived in front of the pavilion. It's here. Let's go in. They did not hesitate and quickly entered the pavilion. They were very fast. It did not take long for them to see the herb garden full of supreme-grade elixirs. Damn, so many elixirs! We're rich. We're really rich this time. These elixirs could not be found in the outside world. Each of them could be sold for a sky-high price. They were absolutely precious. The disciples of the Divine Bird Palace were very excited. Their eyes were red as they rushed forward crazily. However, before they could get close, they were blocked by a few Black Tortoise guards. Damn, there are people from the Black Tortoise clan here! After being blocked, the few of them were furious. Their faces were very ugly. Because they had been unimpeded all the way, they thought that there was no one guarding this place. They did not expect that as soon as they got close to the Supreme Great Herb Garden, there would be Black Tortoises blocking them. They couldn't accept it. How could they accept it? There are 4 of us and only 3 of them. As long as we attack with all our strength, we can definitely rush through. A disciple of the Divine Bird Palace said quickly. The other 3 nodded and then attacked with all their strength. However, they still underestimated the Black Tortoise clan. After fighting for a while, they could not rush through at all. They even wanted to use their advantage of speed to leave the Black Tortoises behind, but in the end, it did not happen. Because the space was small, it was not conducive to using movement techniques. Damn, these Black Tortoises are so difficult to deal with. Damn, I'm so angry. The treasure is right in front of us, but we can't get it. Who can understand this feeling? I'm going crazy. The 4 disciples of the Divine Bird Palace were very mad. At this moment, one of them widened his eyes and pointed in front of him in disbelief. As if he had seen a ghost, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Because he found a figure in the Supreme Great Herb Garden, quickly picking the elixirs. Damn, look, there's someone! The disciple screamed. Someone? Are you kidding me? How can there be someone in there? We are so powerful, but we can't go in. How can others go in? Unless it's a senior figure. Yes, but when we came here, we didn't find any traces of the older generation. Are you so mad that you're hallucinating? The other 3 disciples of the Divine Bird Palace didn't believe him. However, when they turned to look inside, they were all stunned. F***ck your grandpa, what's going on? F***ck, there's someone, there's really someone. Mother ***ker, he's not from the older generation. Seeing this scene, the 4 disciples of Sacred Bird Palace were completely stunned. They stood there motionlessly. That was because they discovered that the figure in front of them was not someone from the older generation. However, this was not the most shocking thing. What shocked them the most was that they actually discovered something else. F***ck, what did I just see? A snake, it's actually a red snake. How did it get in? Oh, my eyes are going blind. Why is there a furry thing? Who can tell me how the 3 of them got in? The disciples of the Divine Bird Palace were dumbfounded because they couldn't figure out how the other party got in. After all, the 4 of them couldn't blast away the other party's 3 black turtles even after risking their lives. At this time, inside the herb garden, the Crimson Dragon also turned around and looked at the 4 figures outside the door. He quickly said, Hey, there are 4 little reptiles coming. Lin Xian didn't even turn his head. He quickly said, Ignore them. Hurry up and pick them. We'll leave as soon as we're done. He wasn't worried at all because with the black turtles, those people couldn't get in at all. By the time those elders came in, he had already finished plucking them. Therefore, Lin Xian ignored the 4 disciples of the Divine Bird Palace outside. The Crimson Dragon turned around and revealed a very disdainful smile. Then, he stretched out his dragon claws and despised them. Seeing this scene, The faces of the 4 disciples of the divine bird palace outside suddenly turned green. Mother Cur, what is he doing? How dare he despise me? Stinking reptile, come out. Believe it or not, I'll hack you to death. I can't stand it, I really can't stand it. I'm going to kill them. The 4 of them were about to go crazy. When had they ever been despised? Moreover, the other party was a snake. However, they couldn't beat the 3 black turtles in front of them at all, so they could only vomit blood in anger. Hey, that's not right. Why aren't the 3 of them attacked? After messing around for a while, the 4 of them calmed down and looked inside with a suspicious look. It was because it was too strange. The 3 black turtles fought fiercely when they saw them, but they didn't attack the 3 people inside. It was really strange. Damn it, don't these black turtles have bad eyesight? Can't they see the situation behind them? No, let's draw the attention of the black turtles and let them attack the kid inside. We'll take advantage of the chaos and go in. The 4 of them discussed and acted again. However, no matter how hard they struggled, the 3 black turtles ignored Lin Xian directly and didn't respond at all. God, can someone tell me what's going on? Are these 3 black turtles blind? Damn it, there are 3 big people inside, but you don't fight them. Why do you have to target the 4 of us? Are you crazy? The 4 of them were going crazy because there were top-grade spiritual herbs inside. Every one of them was a heaven-defying treasure. However, they were so close, but they could only watch helplessly. This was definitely a scene that would make one vomit blood. Don't try anymore. It's useless. There might be a special seal inside that prevents these black turtles from entering, one of them said. Hearing this, the other 3 also fell silent because this was the only explanation that could explain the situation in front of them. Then what should we do? Are we going to give up just like that? Let that kid take advantage of us? They didn't recognize Lin Xian because at this moment, Lin Xian is maintaining a high-speed state, leaving behind only afterimages. So, it's normal that they didn't recognize Lin Xian. Otherwise, if they knew it was Lin Xian, they would vomit blood even more. Give up just like that? Impossible. Let's lure more black turtles and block this door. I'll see how this kid comes out later. We can't let others get what we can't get. One of the disciples revealed a ferocious smile. You guys go and see if you can lure more black turtles. Soon, the disciples of Divine Bird Palace moved and flew inside. Not long after, they lured 3 more black turtles. 6 black turtles wandered around the herb garden, while the 4 disciples of Divine Bird Palace retreated to the side and waited with sneers on their faces. Humph, how dare you steal our things? Let's see how you die this time. Chapter 1080. Humph, how dare you steal our things? Let's see how you'll die this time. The 4 disciples of the Divine Bird Palace smiled sinisterly. In the premium herb garden, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon quickly picked the herbs. It didn't take long for them to finish. At this moment, there were only a few scattered spiritual herbs left in the entire herb garden. Lin Xian and the other 2 didn't care about these. Forget it, don't pick them. Leave some for the Xian Turtle clan. Lin Xian touched his storage ring and said with a smile. Well, then be merciful and leave some for them. The Crimson Dragon stopped picking after hearing this. The snow-white monkey also swished back to Lin Xian's shoulder and nodded. If there were experts from the Xian Turtle clan here, they would definitely vomit blood. Leave some? F*CK, leave some for us. This is all ours, okay? Even the Xian Turtle leader's mouth twitched. However, he was already controlled by Lin Xian, so he couldn't resist at all. Well, it's about time. Let's leave and go to the next treasure hunt. Lin Xian clapped his hands in satisfaction. With a flash of his body, he headed to the next location. Outside, the 4 disciples of the Divine Bird Palace hid in the dark and stared at the entrance of the herb garden. Suddenly, their expressions changed and they became excited. Damn, they're out! They're really out! Humph, let's see how you'll die this time! The few of them sneered. In their opinion, the 6 black tortoises were too powerful. It was impossible for Lin Xian's team to resist them. Haha, I'd like to see what this kid can do. What can he do? He's dead for sure. The 6 Xian turtles are absolutely powerful. That kid can't resist. Humph, he deserves it. Who told him to steal our things? The 4 of them discussed quickly as if they had already seen the result they wanted. However, in the next moment, their eyeballs almost fell out because they saw a figure calmly walk out of the herb garden and stride past the 6 Xian turtle guards. As for the 6 black tortoise guards, they were like statues and didn't react at all. F***ck your grandpa, what's going on? F***ck. Are those 6 black turtles dead? Why isn't there any reaction at all? These people were completely stunned. It was as if 10,000 alpacas were running through their minds. Because this was simply too strange. Originally, they thought that when he came out, he would definitely be surrounded by the 6 Xian turtles and then mercilessly killed. However, the situation was completely different from what they had expected. Not only was the other party not injured, they were not even surrounded. Those Xian turtles stood there motionlessly as if they didn't see anything. Ghost, it must be a ghost. The 4 disciples of the Divine Bird Palace went crazy. However, when they saw the silhouette clearly, their hearts shook and they almost spat out a mouthful of blood. F***ck, why is it that kid? What? It's him. These people went crazy again because they didn't realize that the person who came out was none other than Lin Xian, their sworn enemy. Originally, they were already extremely sullen, and the other party's identity gave them a heavy blow, directly crushing them. Damn it, I can't tolerate this. Come on, kill him. The elixir is ours. The 4 disciples of the Divine Bird Palace had bloodshot eyes. Like crazy rabbits, they quickly rushed up. However, as soon as they went up, the 6 Xian turtles in front also moved. One by one, they roared and quickly rushed up. In an instant, the 4 disciples of the Divine Bird Palace were blocked. F***ck your grandpa, why are you moving again? Why don't you kill him? Why? The 4 people roared wildly. They were really crazy. This scene was too much of a bully. They were all humans, why did they let go of Lin Xian and catch them instead? However, no one answered him. Lin Xian merely sneered. As for the 6 black tortoise bodyguards, they immediately began to attack. Suddenly, there was a miserable howl from behind, and Lin Xian's figure flashed and set off into the depths of the pavilion. Soon, Lin Xian collected a lot of treasures. Half a day later, he left the pavilion with satisfaction. The martial arts disciples outside were even crazier. They collected the treasures crazily and almost turned the building upside down. Lin Xian did not continue to search, but wandered around. Because he disappeared for half a day, he had to show his face, otherwise it would arouse suspicion. However, as soon as he came out, he saw a few people of the Divine Bird Palace rushing towards him. It's him, he just took the best quality herb garden. Yes, this guy is too despicable, he took our things. The 4 disciples of the Divine Bird Palace had escaped and were now pointing at Lin Xian with a ferocious expression. They did escape, but they did not get anything at all, and they were injured. It could be said that they were extremely unlucky. Now, seeing Lin Xian appear, they were even angrier, so they quickly called the other disciples of the Divine Bird Palace to come and make trouble. They even inverted black and white, saying that Lin Xian took their things. Boy, how dare you take our Divine Bird Palace's things? I think you don't want to live anymore. If you know what's good for you, hand over the things obediently, and we may let you go. Humph, don't think that you can be unscrupulous just because you're from Senmu College. Let me tell you, our Divine Bird Palace is not to be trifled with. Quickly hand over those best quality spiritual herbs. These people were all fierce, staring at Lin Xian, their eyes full of fire. They had already learned from the 4 disciples that Lin Xian robbed a huge best quality herb garden. Each of the spiritual herbs in it was extremely precious, and many of them were extinct in the outside world. This was definitely a huge wealth and temptation, so these people would not give up. The 4 people's voices were so loud that it directly alarmed the people around. When the Senmu College disciples saw it, their faces changed dramatically. What's going on? Why are they in conflict with Lin Xian? I heard that the two sides have a grudge before, but they shouldn't be in conflict at this time. Yes, is there any other reason? I heard that junior brother Lin seems to have taken their spiritual herbs, and now the two sides are arguing. A Senmu College disciple said. Junior brother Lin took their spiritual herbs? After hearing this, the crowd was stunned. But at this time, Bing Ling and the others walked over and said coldly, the things here are ownerless, and if there are any, they belong to the Xian Turtle clan. How can the Divine Bird Palace say that junior brother Lin took their things? This is clearly picking a fight, and they don't take Senmu College seriously. Yi Yan coldly said from the side. They had all been on a mission with Lin Xian, so they were very supportive of Lin Xian. How dare they bully us, Senmu College disciples here? They're picking a fight. Let's go support junior brother Lin and see who dares to look down on Senmu College. Yes, damn it, Divine Bird Palace dares to bully Senmu College. They must be tired of living. Damn three-headed bird, I've been unhappy with them for a long time. How dare a sixth-rank sect ride on our heads? Chapter 1081. We support junior brother Lin. Let's go and demand an explanation. With someone taking the lead, these people were naturally not afraid. The group of people marched forward. More and more people from the Divine Bird Palace arrived. Finally, the two sides confronted each other, and the atmosphere was very tense. At this time, the older generation figures were also alarmed. They gave up their search and quickly came over, shouting coldly, "What are you doing?" The disciples of the Divine Bird Palace turned their heads and quickly said, "Elders, you came at the right time. This kid is too hateful. He dared to steal our best spiritual herbs. Elders, you came at the right time. This kid is too hateful. He dared to steal our best spiritual herbs. You must uphold justice for us." The disciples of the Divine Bird Palace shouted loudly when they saw the elders coming. On the other hand, Senmu College's side shouted angrily, "Bah, give it back to you. What things here belong to you? You're shameless." "That's right. You can't steal from us, Senmu College. You're not strong enough, and you're still complaining. You're really thick-skinned." Senmu College's side did not show any weakness. Lin Xian sneered and looked at them coldly. These guys really dared to talk and steal their spiritual herbs. Did he need to steal? Those four guys didn't even enter the door. However, the elders of the Divine Bird Palace did not care about that. Lin Xian was their enemy, and the temptation of the best spiritual herbs was too great. Even these older figures could not be spared. Therefore, they quickly came over and stared at Lin Xian and shouted coldly, "Kid, I'll give you a chance. Hand over the spiritual herbs you stole, and I can let bygones be bygones. Yes, we can give Senmu College face, as long as you hand over the spiritual herbs." If it were not for Senmu College, they would have already attacked them. Why would they waste time talking nonsense with Lin Xian? However, they did not give Lin Xian any face now. They all scolded him coldly. However, Lin Xian sneered, "You've lived for so many years. How can you still be so stupid? Just because he says it's a robbery, it's a robbery. Which eye of yours saw it? Humph, don't quibble, you're the one who snatched our things." The four Divine Bird Palace disciples shouted loudly. Lin Xian was so angry that he laughed. He quickly said, "Well, tell me, how many spirit herbs did I steal from you? What kind of spirit herbs were they? As long as you can name one, I will give you all the spiritual herbs I have today." Suddenly, the disciples of Divine Bird Palace were speechless. Because they were just talking nonsense, how could they know? However, in front of so many people, they couldn't admit it directly. They could only brace themselves and say it. "Those are all extinct spiritual medicines, how could we possibly recognize them? But we do know that just by looking at their luster and aura, they are definitely top quality." "You don't recognize him? Forget it, I can't blame you for being ignorant." Lin Xian shook his head slightly. You should be able to remember how many stalks. At your level, you should be able to tell with a glance. The disciples of Divine Bird Palace were speechless again. Of course, they didn't know. After all, they didn't even enter the herb garden. Seeing that they were speechless, Lin Xian said coldly, "You can't even answer the most basic question, and you still say that I stole from you. This lie is a bit too big." Around them, the celestial martial arts disciples were also angry when they heard this. Damn, I thought it was robbery, but now it seems that it wasn't even robbery. You didn't even see a strand of hair, and you're just spreading rumors here? What do you mean? Do you think that Senma College is easy to bully? Damn, you have to give us an explanation, otherwise we won't be able to fool you so easily. The disciples of Senma College were anxious. Both sides had just joined forces and were allies, but now the other side had shed all pretense of cordiality and wanted to steal the spirit herbs from Lin Xian. They didn't put Senma College in their eyes at all. Thinking of this, the group of Senma College disciples was furious and stared at the people of Divine Bird Palace with unfriendly expressions. The faces of the 4 disciples of Divine Bird Palace were very ugly. Cold sweat flowed down their foreheads, and the faces of the elders were also very dark. They didn't expect their disciples to be so stupid. They didn't even understand these questions and dared to directly slander them. They were simply courting death. Not only that, but they were also dragged into the water. Now that they were in such a passive situation, the elders of Divine Bird Palace felt their faces darken, as if they had been slapped in the face. However, the 4 disciples of Divine Bird Palace didn't give up. In the end, they gritted their teeth and quickly said, "I don't know what method this kid used to control the black turtles. I saw with my own eyes that he swaggered in front of 6 black turtles, and those black turtles attacked us crazily. Yes, that's why we missed the spirit herbs." The disciples of Divine Bird Palace shouted frantically. But the disciples of Senma College still sneered. "Doesn't this prove that you don't have the ability? Hurry up and get out of here. Don't make a fool of yourself here. It's impossible to slander Junior Brother Lin." "That's right. Who is Junior Brother Lin?" "He's an influential figure in our Immortal Martial Academy. He can annihilate all of you with a single finger." These people wouldn't even believe a word of the other party. Lin Xian also looked indifferent. Although the other party's guess was not far from the truth, and he could indeed control the black turtles, the other party had no evidence at all, so he was not afraid at all. He would like to see what other means the other party could use. After hearing this, the elders of Divine Bird Palace frowned. "Is what you said true?" "It's true, Elder. This is what we saw with our own eyes. It can't be wrong." After hearing this, the elders of Divine Bird Palace suddenly sneered and stared at Lin Xian. "Boy, how are you going to explain now? Is it possible that you have some shady business with the black turtles?" The elder of Divine Bird Palace shouted loudly. Lin Xian, on the other hand, chuckled and gave him a look of disdain. This group of people's brains must be made of paste. Spies of the black turtles? Only they could think of such a thing. Lin Xian didn't even bother to explain such words. He could only look at them with deep contempt. At this time, Elder Song and the others also quickly came and asked coldly, "What's going on?" "Elder Song, you came just in time." "Yes, Elder. These 3-headed birds are too abominable. They want to bully Junior Brother Lin and steal the spiritual medicine in his hands." The surrounding students of the Immortal Martial Academy chattered incessantly, as they swiftly recounted the events that transpired. After hearing this, Elder Song and the others' faces darkened. After all, Lin Xian was not an ordinary disciple of Senma College. He was a famous figure in the college. Not only that, but he was also a special person who was specially taken care of by the college. Therefore, Elder Song and the others would never let him suffer a loss. Soon, he turned his eyes and stared at the people of Divine Bird Palace. He said coldly, "You guys, what you've done is a bit too much. Do you really think that Senma College is easy to bully?" Hearing Elder Song's words, the eyes of the several elders of Divine Bird Palace twitched. Chapter 1082. However, the temptation of the elixir was too great, so they could only brace themselves and speak. Elder Song, you misunderstood. I'm not targeting Senmu College. It's just that this kid is too suspicious. Well, I won't make things difficult for him. As long as he can explain why those black turtles didn't attack him, I'll let it go. If he can't explain, then don't blame us. After that, the elders of Divine Bird Palace stopped talking and looked coldly at Lin Xian. They wanted to see how he would explain. Hearing this, Elder Song and the others' faces darkened. It seemed that the other party was not going to give up. However, Lin Xian rolled his eyes and was speechless. He stood up and looked at the people of Divine Bird Palace and said coldly, I thought that since you've lived for so long, you should have seen some things. I didn't expect that you couldn't even understand this. There's a technique called concealment that can hide a warrior's aura. Do you understand? I happen to know this technique. Is it strange? Lin Xian said with a look of contempt. Finally, he used the heaven-changing technique to hide his aura. Suddenly, everyone was stunned because they could not feel Lin Xian's aura. Do you want me to completely hide my body and show you? Lin Xian's voice was full of ridicule. Hearing Lin Xian's words, the faces of the people of Divine Bird Palace darkened. However, the disciples of Senmu College laughed. That's right. If you don't understand such a simple principle, how can you be a sixth-rank sect? Ridiculous. I've really learned something. I thought that there was not much difference between us and a sixth-rank sect. I didn't expect that there would be such a big difference. I've never even heard of this technique. Anyway, with Elder Song and the others there, the disciples of Senmu College were not afraid that the other party would dare to attack, so they began to ridicule. After hearing this, the faces of the people of Divine Bird Palace darkened. They trembled with anger, especially the elders, whose faces turned green. Humiliation. This was an absolute humiliation. As elders, when had they ever been looked down upon? Yet now, they were actually being looked down upon by a group of young descendants. This wasn't just a slap to their faces, it was a kick to their faces. Moreover, they were the ones who foolishly sent Lian up. Thinking of this, they almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The elders of Divine Bird Palace had an impulse to die, but Elder Song and the others also laughed. They were originally a little worried, but now it seemed that their worries were unnecessary. This was because they didn't even need to do anything. Lin Xian had already slapped the other party's face until it was swollen. Seniors, I wonder if you can understand my explanation? Lin Xian asked with a smile. Puff. Finally, an elder could not hold it in any longer and spurted out a mouthful of blood. He was angry. He was completely angry. It could be said that he was too hateful. Humph! Let's go! One of the elders waved his hand and left with his men. They had to leave because they were too ashamed to stay there any longer. Seeing the people of Divine Bird Palace leave in a huff, the surrounding disciples of Senmu College cheered. Many of them gave Lin Xian a thumbs up. Junior brother Lin, you're awesome! That was so satisfying. I've been annoyed with them for a long time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, elders. Lin Xian was not arrogant, and thanked the people around him. Although he was fine without their help, after all, the people around him had put in a lot of effort, so he was still very grateful. It's okay, it's nothing. The group of people laughed. Then, the crowd dispersed again to look for treasures. Lin Xian did not stay, because according to the information he got from the Black Tortoise leader, there was a relatively large treasury. There was no way he would miss that place. Using the illusionary demonic steps, Lin Xian's body turned into a flash of lightning and flew into the distance. However, things did not go as smoothly as he thought, because the treasury was discovered. There were many people standing in front of him. They were people from Senmu College and Divine Bird Palace. They're all here? Lin Xian was incomparably shocked. It seemed that it was impossible for him to take all the treasures alone. Humph! At that moment, the people in front of him also saw Lin Xian. Senmu College's people did not show any reaction, but the people of Divine Bird Palace snorted heavily. Lin Xian had just slapped them hard in the face. Now that they saw Lin Xian, they were extremely jealous. Lin Xian sneered and did not care about the attitude of the other party at all. Instead, he strode in. "Kid, there are enough people here. Go away!" Among them, a young man from Divine Bird Palace snorted. The young man was about 30 years old, and looked very arrogant. He stared at Lin Xian and spoke in an unfriendly tone. There was no other way. Although this was a treasury, there were only so many things. One more person would mean less things for them. Therefore, the people of Divine Bird Palace did not want Lin Xian to come in at all. However, Lin Xian did not care about them. He must enter this place. In front, the martial artist from Divine Bird Palace saw that Lin Xian did not stop. Suddenly, his face sank. He snorted and quickly waved his hand. A vigorous energy gushed out. It was extremely fierce and rushed toward Lin Xian. This palm was very fierce and did not hold back at all. If hit, even a 4th-level venerable would not be able to withstand it. Seeing this scene, the faces of many Senma College disciples changed. They did not expect the people of Divine Bird Palace to really make a move. However, the disciples of Divine Bird Palace in the back sneered. They had long disliked Lin Xian. Now that they could teach him a lesson, of course, it was excellent. The young man waved his palm and suddenly sneered. "This is a lesson for you." However, before he could finish speaking, he was stunned. Because in front of him, a sword light flashed and instantly cut the fierce palm's shadow. Lin Xian was almost unaffected and was still striding forward. "What? How is this possible?" Seeing this scene, many disciples of Divine Bird Palace screamed. They did not believe it because the young man was not an ordinary person. He was a genius of their younger generation. Among the 4th-level venerables, there were few who could match him. They originally thought that this palm would be able to make the other party leave, but they did not expect that it would not hurt the other party at all. It did not even affect him. The disciples of Divine Bird Palace in the back were surprised, but the young man's face sank. Humiliating, too humiliating. Where would he put his face? No, I must get back at him. Thinking of this, he still wanted to make a move. However, in the next moment, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. His fierce gaze swept over like a sword light. Feeling this gaze, the young man's body trembled, revealing a terrified expression. That gaze was so terrifying that it made him feel a sense of fear. His body trembled uncontrollably. The young man could not stop all of this. Originally, the spiritual power in his body was surging, but under this gaze, it was completely extinguished. The palm that was about to wave also stopped in midair. Chapter 1083. Everyone was stunned, especially the young man who had attacked before. His face was extremely dark. He did not expect Lin Xian to be so powerful. He gritted his teeth and was about to attack again. However, when he saw Lin Xian's cold eyes, he suddenly felt fear in his heart. His eyes were too terrifying. They were like two sharp blades that pierced into his heart. For a moment, the young man did not dare to attack again. Lin Xian, on the other hand, snorted coldly and strode forward. This time, the people of the Divine Bird Palace did not dare to attack again. Lin Xian did not pay any attention to them. Instead, he quickly scanned the area. There were so many people here that he could not collect materials wantonly. Therefore, he could only pick one or two of the more precious items to sell. Lin Xian knew that there was a very precious tortoiseshell in the treasury from his conversation with the Black Tortoise leader. It was said that it was a tortoiseshell passed down from the ancestors of the Black Tortoise tribe. Everyone knew that the Black Tortoise tribe had a strong defense. A tortoiseshell passed down from ancient times must have been left behind by a peerless expert in the tribe. Therefore, one could imagine how strong its defense was. Lin Xian wanted to integrate the tortoiseshell into his red lotus armor. This would definitely increase his defense greatly. Thinking of this, his heart was burning with desire. He had to get his hands on it. The next moment, he scanned the entire treasury and searched for it. With his outstanding soul power and the information he had obtained from the Black Tortoise leader, Lin Xian quickly found the tortoise shell. However, it was different from what he had imagined. The tortoise shell did not look as powerful as it seemed. It even looked a little ordinary. In this dazzling collection of treasures, it was truly too inconspicuous, and it was even to the extent that it was almost forgotten. This was better. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up slightly. The next moment, he stretched out his hand and grabbed the quaint tortoise shell. "Stop!" Suddenly, a cold shout was heard. This voice contained a hint of anger. Immediately after, a majestic energy burst forth and quickly blasted forward, blocking the light palm. Lin Xian frowned when he saw what happened, as it was the Divine Bird Palace that made a move. Although the people of Divine Bird Palace did not know the true origin of the tortoise shell, they did not even take a fancy to the tortoise shell. However, no matter what, they would not easily hand over anything in the treasury to Lin Xian. That was why the scene earlier had occurred. The one who attacked was a woman in red. Although she was pretty, she had a mean look on her face. Her chin was raised like a proud peacock. She was also a heaven's pride of the younger generation of the Divine Bird Palace. Her cultivation was even higher than that of the young man who had attacked before. She was even close to the fifth heaven of Venerable. The woman looked at Lin Xian with a murderous look in her eyes. "Scram! I want that tortoise shell!" Lin Xian's voice was equally cold and sharp. This aggressive attitude directly angered the woman in red, and made the faces of the people of Divine Bird Palace turn black. They were a sixth-rank sect, a lofty existence. However, at this moment, a junior was completely disregarding them. How preposterous! However, with the previous example, the woman in red did not immediately attack. Instead, she said coldly, "No one can touch the things here. Let's discuss how to distribute them." "Discuss? Distribute?" Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned and turned to look at Li Yunfei behind him. Li Yunfei's face was also ugly. He was probably arguing with the people of Divine Bird Palace just now. However, he still sent a sound transmission to Lin Xian to explain. Because this place was discovered by Divine Bird Palace first, and the two sects worked together to break the prohibition, Li Yunfei wanted to share it 50-50, but the other side was unwilling. Hearing this, Lin Xian sneered. No matter who discovered it first, since they worked together to break the prohibition, it should be 50-50. But now, Divine Bird Palace was obviously insatiable. Lin Xian did not have a good impression of the people of Divine Bird Palace, and now he was even more disgusted. What's so great about finding it first? If you have the ability, break it yourself. If you don't have the ability, how can there be such a good thing in the world? Lin Xian sneered. Junior, you're courting death. Hearing this, the people of Divine Bird Palace suddenly shouted angrily. What? Not convinced? Or did I hit a sore spot? Lin Xian was not afraid of them. He continued, How about this? Let's have a few matches, and the winner has the right to choose. At the end of his words, he carried a domineering aura, and a fierce aura swept in all directions. At the same time, the snow-white monkey got into his sleeve and began to urge the small bowl on top of his head to collect the tortoise shell. Everyone was staring at Lin Xian's aura, so no one noticed that the tortoise shell was missing. Boy, it's not up to you to decide how to distribute it. An old man of Divine Bird Palace trembled with anger. Well, since you don't think my proposal is good, then pretend I didn't say anything. Lin Xian loosened his shoulders and retreated into the crowd. With the tortoise shell in hand, he was too lazy to pay attention to these people. Seeing Lin Xian retreat, the people of Divine Bird Palace were stunned. They originally thought that Lin Xian would continue to pester them endlessly, but they did not expect him to retreat so quickly. Suddenly, they sneered in their hearts. This boy must be afraid of them, so he retreated. Thinking of this, the people of Divine Bird Palace were proud. However, they soon stopped laughing, because someone found that the inconspicuous tortoise shell had disappeared. How could it be it disappeared? Look again! The people of Divine Bird Palace did not believe it and began to search everywhere. In the end, they searched the entire treasury, but did not find the tortoiseshell. How could it be? The people of Divine Bird Palace were shocked, and their faces were ugly again. They did not expect that a treasure would disappear in front of their eyes. The people of Divine Bird Palace were stunned, then turned their heads and stared at Lin Xian. Boy, are you the one who took it? Hand it over quickly, or you'll be in trouble. If you don't make it clear, don't think about leaving today. The people of Divine Bird Palace looked gloomy, and they roared one by one. That's funny. Which eye of yours saw me do it? I was right here just now. Did you see me do it? Lin Xian said coldly. The people of Senma College were also angry. F***ck, I knew you were up to no good, but I didn't expect you to slander us like this. You're framing junior brother Lin for something that obviously didn't happen. You call yourselves a sixth-rank sect? I'm dying of laughter. You don't even know the truth, and you're casually framing a good person. How dare you call yourselves a sixth-rank sect? You've made trouble for Senma College time and time again. Do you really think we're easy to bully? Let's fight if you don't like it. Who's afraid of you? The group of Senma College disciples was angry. They were already angry because of the distribution of the treasures before, and now, the other party had directly framed Lin Xian, which completely ignited their anger. Chapter 1084. The disciples of Senma College were finally angered by the people of Sacred Bird Palace. A group of people stared ahead, looking unfriendly. At this time, Li Yunfei also said coldly, We didn't see junior brother Lin make a move, and I believe you didn't see it either. I don't think anyone can make a move in front of so many people without being noticed. At least with junior brother Lin's skills, it's impossible. So, please control your attitude, otherwise Senma College is not to be trifled with. Hearing this, the people of Sacred Bird Palace snorted, but they didn't say anything, but their expressions were very ugly. Because this was too strange. A treasure had disappeared in front of everyone just like that. Moreover, they didn't think it was Lin Xian who did it, because he didn't have the strength to do so. After all, there were not only the younger generation of Sacred Bird Palace, but also the older generation. If it was really Lin Xian who made a move, they should have been able to sense it, but they didn't even notice a trace of abnormality, which meant that Lin Xian's skills were definitely above theirs. Therefore, based on cultivation strength, they ruled out Lin Xian. However, in their hearts, they couldn't let go of Lin Xian. Because it was too much of a coincidence. Lin Xian had just arrived, and such a thing happened, so they couldn't help but be suspicious. Then what do you think is going on? The woman in red asked. Of course, they won't let this matter go. Li Yunfei pondered for a moment, and said slowly, To be able to make a move without being noticed, no one here can do it. Even the older generation of both sides can't do it. And those black tortoises can't do it. Besides the black tortoises and our side, there are not many people who can be suspicious. Hearing Li Yunfei's words, everyone was stunned, but the people of Sacred Bird Palace were stunned, and then exclaimed, You mean that mysterious woman Zhao Shui? Zhao Shui was very mysterious and powerful, even more powerful than the older generation. Not only that, she didn't belong to any force, so she was the most likely. In terms of skills, it was very likely to be her. The people of Sacred Bird Palace quickly discussed. Lin Xian was also in a daze. He couldn't understand how Zhao Shui was involved in this matter. However, what made him speechless was that other than Zhao Shui, no one else had the ability to do so. Shaking his head helplessly, Lin Xian could only mourn for Zhao Shui. However, he was not worried because from her previous performance, Zhao Shui's strength was too strong. She was not inferior to the older generation. Therefore, it didn't matter even if these people were suspicious. On the other side, the more the people of the Holy Bird Palace thought about it, the more likely it was. They all gnashed their teeth, wishing they could find Zhao Shui and interrogate her. However, they were only angry and did not dare to do so. After all, the other party's strength far surpassed theirs. Humph, I thought she was an expert, but I didn't expect her to do such a thing. That's right. Not only did they occupy the largest palace, but they're also secretly attacking our treasures. How despicable! Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief when he heard their curses. These people would not dare to cause trouble for Zhao Shui. Since this was the case, he could take advantage of this opportunity. Little White, get a few more treasures! Lin Xian transmitted his voice. In his sleeve, the little white monkey's big eyes narrowed into crescents. It held the small worn-out bowl and attacked again. Then, a fist-sized purple liquid disappeared. What? The blood essence of the purple demon shark disappeared! Seeing this scene, everyone was dumbfounded, especially those from the Divine Bird Palace. They were going crazy. That was equivalent to the blood essence of a half-step demon king. It was the most precious thing in this treasury, but now it had disappeared. Ah! How despicable! You've gone too far! Give me back my half-step demon king blood essence! The people of the Holy Bird Palace were hopping mad. They had their eyes on the purple blood essence for a long time. They originally wanted to get it during the negotiation. However, they did not expect it to be gone now. Damn Zhao Shui, you've gone too far. The Holy Bird Palace, and you are irreconcilable. Despicable and shameless. I'm so angry. A few elders also roared at the sky. The people of Senmu College were also stunned. They did not expect this to happen. However, it was great to see the people of the Holy Bird Palace being humiliated. At this moment, a cold voice was heard. Who dares to talk about me behind my back? Along with this voice came a white figure. Zhao Shui! Seeing the figure, everyone was stunned. They did not expect Zhao Shui to be here. Lin Xian was also stunned. This was too much of a coincidence. Hee, but this is good. It's a good chance to teach the Holy Bird Palace a lesson. Thinking of this, Lin Xian stopped attacking and watched the show. At this moment, Zhao Shui stood in the void, exuding a terrifying aura. Her beautiful eyes were fixed on the people of the Holy Bird Palace. Feeling this terrifying aura, the disciples of the Holy Bird Palace did not dare to speak. Even the people of the older generation were astonished at this moment. Go on, why did you stop? Zhao Shui said coldly. She was just passing by, but she did not expect someone to scold her. How audacious. After all, she was the one who defeated the elite of the Xian turtle tribe, so everything here belonged to her. And now someone dared to scold her? Hearing Zhao Shui's words, the disciples of the Holy Bird Palace did not dare to speak. They had no choice. Her aura was too terrifying. It was not something they could resist. Give me a reason, or don't blame me for being rude, Zhao Shui said in a low voice. We don't want to, but there are things here that are mysteriously missing. An elder of the Holy Bird Palace told her the truth. You mean you suspect that I stole it? Zhao Shui's face darkened. The next moment, a huge force gushed out of her body. It was like a huge mountain wave crashing down. Boom! The disciples of the Holy Bird Palace were hit and flew backward, vomiting blood. Even the elders were forced to retreat. You! The elder of the Holy Bird Palace was shocked and trembled with anger. Intolerable bullying, intolerable bullying. Zhao Shui ignored him and said coldly, Do I need to steal what I want? What a joke! I've always taken what I want. Just like this. With that, she waved her hand and took away a treasure the size of a small mountain. Seeing this, the hearts of the people of the Holy Bird Palace were bleeding. That was a real treasure. However, they did not dare to say anything. Zhao Shui's aura was enough to injure them. That kind of power was not something they could resist. Moreover, they understood that it was not Zhao Shui who did it. She did not need to be sneaky. She could have just taken it, just like now. No one dared to say anything. Chapter 1085. Looking at the scene in front of them, the faces of the Divine Bird Palace disciples turned green. many of them were heartbroken. Those were genuine treasures, and they were taken away just like that. As for them, they could only watch helplessly. The Senmu College disciples were also excited, but they did not dare to move. After all, they knew what happened to the Divine Bird Palace. However, there was one exception. Seeing Zhao Shui take action, Lin Xian did not bother with the white monkey anymore. Instead, he took action and began to divide the treasures in the room. Seeing this, everyone's eyes almost popped out, especially the Divine Bird Palace disciples. Besides shock, they were also angry. Those were their things, and they were taken by this despicable guy. Lin Xian, how dare you? Kid, you're courting death. Put down the things? Countless voices rang out, all from the Divine Bird Palace disciples. They could not take it anymore. If it was Zhao Shui, they would have let it go because they could not beat her and could only suffer. However, Lin Xian was not one of them. They were not afraid of Lin Xian at all. Therefore, when the Divine Bird Palace disciples saw Lin Xian snatching the treasures, they were instantly enraged. However, Lin Xian did not care about those people at all. Instead, he quickly took action. There were good things in here. He had to snatch them quickly. At this moment, the Senmu College disciples widened their eyes and exclaimed in their hearts. This Lin Xian was too bold. At this moment, Zhao Shui also looked back with a trace of doubt on her beautiful face. She did not expect that someone would dare to take action. Seeing Zhao Shui looking over, Lin Xian also stopped. He had a glimmer of hope that she would recognize him. However, he was disappointed because Zhao Shui still did not recognize him. Zhao Shui's beautiful eyes turned. For some reason, she felt that the figure in front of her was very familiar, as if she had seen him somewhere before. However, she just could not remember. You dare to take action? Zhao Shui asked softly. Why wouldn't I? Lin Xian smiled. It's my honor to fight with a beauty. You're very special. I think I've seen you somewhere before, Zhao Shui said. Oh? Hearing this, Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat. Did she remember something? However, Zhao Shui continued. It just feels familiar, but I can't remember. The two of them chatted for a while before harvesting the treasures again. When the people of the Divine Bird Palace saw that Lin Xian was not punished, they immediately became angry and wanted to attack him. Sure enough, a few bold disciples ran out, wanting to make a move. At this moment, Zhao Shui frowned and nodded. As if struck by lightning, the disciples hurriedly ran back in fright. Lin Xian happened to see this scene and immediately sneered. They were indeed a bunch of good-for-nothings. The people from Senmu College also tried to make a move, but they were also warned. Hence, a strange scene unfolded. Countless disciples stared at Lin Xian and Zhao Shui as they looted the entire treasury. Although they obtained a lot of treasures, Lin Xian was still a little disappointed that Zhao Shui did not recognize him. He was now sure that Zhao Shui must have lost her memory for some reason, but he did not know if it was permanent. Lin Xian sighed as he gazed at the beautiful back of her figure. Not long after Zhao Shui left, Elder Song and the others arrived. This made the people of the Divine Bird Palace gnash their teeth in anger because they did not have a chance to attack Lin Xian. Zhao Shui left. It seems that she's heading towards the Dragon Palace. We don't want to stay here. Although the things here are good, they are still lacking compared to the Dragon Palace, Elder Song said. Everyone nodded because they were almost done with their loot. At the same time, they were also very excited because just the Xian turtle tribe alone had so many treasures. One could imagine how attractive the Dragon Palace was. The Dragon Palace was at the center of the entire underwater building. It was an ancient and mysterious existence. Moreover, everyone knew that the closer they were to the Dragon Palace, the stronger the sea demons were. For example, the Xian turtle tribe was much stronger than the shrimp soldiers. Fortunately, they had Zhao Shui. Otherwise, they would not have been able to enter so easily. With Elder Song's suggestion, everyone did not delay and went on their way quickly. They were in such a hurry because they wanted to use Zhao Shui's power to enter the Dragon Palace. The people of the Divine Bird Palace also had the same plan. Therefore, no one said anything and went on quickly. Not long after, they passed through the area where the Xian turtle tribe was and came to a vast area. In front of them, there was a 5-colored crystal palace. It was very huge, like a celestial palace. Looking at the palace in front of them, everyone's breathing quickened. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes because the surging power was even clearer here. The crimson dragon curled its lips and did not seem to be interested. Lin Xian was rather surprised by this. Because according to this guy's character, when he saw such a powerful treasure, he would definitely jump up and attack. But now, he was indifferent. "You're not tempted?" Lin Xian asked curiously. "It's not a good thing." The crimson dragon shook its head. "Although the energy is very strong, the aura is not good. There's even evil in it. I'm a pure Eastern divine dragon. I won't swallow this source of evil." "Source of evil?" Hearing this, Lin Xian was shocked. To be honest, he did not feel it before. Now that Rosalong mentioned it, he really did feel an evil aura in the energy. However, he could not say that it was evil because he felt that the murderous aura was just a little stronger. Since Rosalong did not want to snatch it, it was for the best. Lin Xian stroked his chin and looked forward. Not only him, but everyone around him also looked forward with a burning gaze. Especially those of the older generation. Their eyes were red and their breathing was heavy. They were too old, and it was not easy for them to improve their cultivation. However, if they could obtain this surging energy, their cultivation would definitely improve greatly. By then, not only would their strength increase, but their lifespan would also increase. Finally, someone could not help it. A disciple of the Divine Bird Palace stepped forward. Everyone was watching nervously because they knew that there must be a prohibition in such an important place. That disciple also stepped forward cautiously. However, he was not stopped and walked in. "What?" Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Then, they all went crazy. "There's no prohibition? Ha 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 ha! God is helping me! Charge!" The group of people went crazy and rushed in. Lin Xian was also surprised. He took a deep breath and his eyes were full of caution because this was too abnormal. How could there be no prohibition in such an important place? Therefore, he braced himself and walked in. Chapter 1086. The fact that there were no restrictions in the Dragon Palace was surprising. Perhaps it had been broken by someone, or perhaps it never existed in the first place. No one knew the exact situation and no one cared. What they cared about was what was inside the Dragon Palace. Lin Xian followed the crowd and walked into the Dragon Palace. He ignored the treasures around him because one thing caught his attention. Not only him, but everyone's attention was on it. In the middle of the Dragon Palace, there was a dragon pillar with 2 dragons engraved on it, coiling around each other. Between the 2 dragon heads there was a blue crystal ball with light flowing on it. It was obvious that it contained powerful energy. "Dragon Ball!" someone shouted. Instantly, everyone's attention was on it. This energy! Countless people were excited, including the older generation figures. However, in the next moment, everyone's expression changed and they were shocked. That was because there was a white figure in front of them. "Zhao Shui!" a disciple exclaimed. It was indeed Zhao Shui. Moreover, there were other figures as well. They were all sea demons and many of them were injured. A few of them were lying on the ground, obviously killed. It seemed that before they arrived, Zhao Shui had a huge battle with these people. However, it didn't seem to go well because the Dragon Ball was still under the protection of the sea demons. Lin Xian's expression was solemn because he knew that in order to get the Dragon Ball, he had to defeat the sea demons. He furrowed his brows and looked ahead. There were 3 powerful mermaids in front of him. They had human bodies and shark heads. They looked ferocious and had a shark tail on their backs. The 3 of them were unusually powerful and far surpassed the other sea demons. Apart from the 3 of them, there was an even more dangerous pure-blooded one. This person was even more demonic. He was shrouded in a black aura and his hair was fluffy like the tentacles of an octopus that kept twisting. Apart from his strange appearance, his aura was also the most powerful. He had reached the fifth heaven of the honorable realm. Seeing this scene, many people were inwardly shocked, and even more people wanted to continue onward. Everyone, back off! Zhao Shui didn't turn around but reminded them coldly. However, no one cared because they thought that Zhao Shui just didn't want them to participate. In front of such a precious Dragon Ball, how could these people listen? Thus, in an instant, many disciples rushed forward. However, in the next instant, those people started to panic. This was because all the martial artists who approached the Dragon Ball were pulled by a suction force and uncontrollably walked forward. Moreover, the closer they got to the Dragon Ball, the less flesh they had. In the end, they were reduced to a pile of bones. No! The elders of the Divine Bird Palace roared madly, because among them were their proud disciples. The faces of Elder Song and the rest changed as well. They kept yelling, "No one is allowed to go over." In fact, even without Elder Song's reprimand, everyone retreated. No one dared to step forward. The scene just now was too strange. Those disciples who had turned into skeletons did not scream in pain. They even had smiles on their faces, as if they were on a pilgrimage. What's the situation? This thing is too strange. That's right. It's as if there's some kind of magical power that can attract people. Damn it, I don't want to go up again. That thing doesn't look like anything good. Many disciples shook their heads frantically. Hey, someone went up? Damn, who's so fierce? Does he want to die? Seeing that someone was advancing instead of retreating, these people were stunned and screamed one by one. Lin Xian, it's junior brother Lin. The disciples of Senma College cried out in alarm. Junior brother Lin, come back. Bing Ling and the others shouted, trying to call Lin Xian back. Oh no, is he under evil influence? What should we do? That Dragon Ball is too strange. The disciples of Senma College were anxious. Elder Song and the others also looked gloomy. On the other side, the people of the Divine Bird Palace sneered. They had lost a lot of disciples and were in a heavy mood, but now they were excited when they saw this scene. Haha, it's that kid. He's also under evil influence? That's great. He's overestimating himself. Even the elders don't dare to go up, but a junior dares to approach. He's really courting death. He brought this on himself. The disciples of the Divine Bird Palace sneered. But soon, they couldn't laugh anymore because they found that Lin Xian was fine. His body wasn't hurt, and his face didn't show any signs of infatuation. He even stopped halfway through. What's going on? Is that kid okay? How is that possible? The disciples of the Divine Bird Palace looked as if they had seen a ghost. Haha, I knew it. With Junior Brother Lin's ability, he'll be fine. Yeah, since Junior Brother Lin dares to go up, it means he's confident. Ridiculous, some people are still mocking him. What a slap in the face. How dare you question Junior Brother Lin? Are you out of your mind? The people of Senma College retorted, staring at the Divine Bird Palace with contempt. These people were too abominable. Now they were slapped in the face. Hearing these taunts, the disciples of the Divine Bird Palace all looked gloomy and cold. Zhao Shui was also surprised. She didn't expect anyone to come up. So, she looked at Lin Xian a few more times. Lin Xian shrugged and said slowly, "From the situation just now, those people should be affected by the soul power. So, as long as they are careful, don't be confused, and stand outside the safety line, there should be no problem." Lin Xian wouldn't joke about his life. The reason why he came up was that he had figured it all out. Since Zhao Shui was fine, it meant that the Dragon Ball was not as scary as he imagined. Or, it was scary because of a condition. After analysis, Lin Xian found this condition. That was why he was able to stand safely now. When the people behind heard this, they also showed a look of realization. A small number of people showed a happy expression, but most of them still had a bitter look. They didn't have such strong soul power. Elder Song and a few other elders breathed a sigh of relief and approached carefully. Dugu Outyen was full of sword intent and was incomparably fierce. Naturally, he was not afraid of the interference of soul power. Li Yunfei also raised his hand and threw out a tattered picture scroll. He held it above his head and slowly approached. The picture scroll was yellow. Although it was incomplete, its aura was terrifying. At this moment, rays of light hung down and enveloped Li Yunfei. On the other side, the elders of the Divine Bird Palace also used various methods to get closer to the Dragon Ball. Lin Xian ignored the people behind him. The reason why he said it was because he knew that it was easy to get close, but it was very difficult to seize the Dragon Ball. He had to rely on the strength of everyone. Zhao Shui also ignored them. At this moment, she was staring at the Dragon Ball and studying it carefully. Because she felt an inexplicable sense of danger, she didn't act rashly. What do you think? Zhao Shui looked at Lin Xian. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.